Okay, not completely sure what we're about to get ourselves into, and this one will probably not take very long, so we'll probably end up playing a third game later on, since we've still got about 2 hours left. But it's a little indie game I found called Replaced. Replaced? I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it. It's like the word reap, like a reaper, REAP, but then it's also got the word like laced after that, so it's like replaced, but
Stream
it's like
elements,
replaced. I don't
said.
know.
Stay moist, my friends, hydrate.
The main reason I don't think it's going to take very long to play this one is because there's literally an achievement for beating the game in under 10 minutes. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. The game itself is free. The game itself is free, by the way. Couldn't remember if it was free or really cheap, but yeah, the game itself is completely free on Steam. Okay, it doesn't look like the audio is too loud. Okay, let's see what the heck we're getting ourselves into here. Okay, yeah, see, so it's like replaced or replace, replay. I don't know. Okay, standard warning. No idea if it's voiced or not. A free game probably isn't, but I have seen some free games that are, so. No? Okay, no. Halloween. What a wickedly wonderful night to find restless souls. While humans party, look for candy, and scare the living daylights out of one another. I always make the most out of that sacred time. Hmm. For I, Drea Perim, am a reaper in search of exceptional souls to harvest. My job is simple: find those that have died and usher their souls to their final destination. However, some souls are more treasured than others. Humans like to take comfort in telling each other that death is a great equalizer, that it's all the same when someone dies. It would be rather wicked to let them know how wrong they are, so we don't. What they don't know is what those with interesting, complex, or otherwise unorthodox deaths are more valuable. It's a point of pride amongst reapers to collect the more interesting souls. Nobody would talk reverently of a reaper who lingered around hospitals and nursing homes, waiting for withering husks to fade, after all. No, by far the most worthwhile and interesting deaths occur from murders. A human taking the life of another human, be it by passion or by plan. Souls pulsing with rage, regret, and remorse. Powerful feelings that make them coveted like diamonds. However, because these souls are often overflowing with emotions, they are hard to reap, like trying to pull a ship that's anchored to the ocean floor. But by solving the circumstances of their murders, they are placated and easily harvested. It's not always easy, but the reward is well worth the trouble. Plus, there is some fun in solving a murder. It's good when your work can become your play. And with the bittersweet smell of death in the air, I can always tell when I'll have my work cut out for me. Happy Halloween, humans! You always make such monsters of yourselves. Soul searching, we began our hunt for a soul. My vision cleared as I materialized in the darkness. Immediately, I felt my clothes starting to cling to my skin as a heavy downpour of rain began to soak me. It didn't bother me. Being wet is no problem for a reaper, and you can pick and choose where the finest dead souls will be found. I wiped some of the water from my face and looked around. I was standing at the side of what might have started the day as a scenic little dirt road through a forest. Now, though, it was becoming a long slick of mud. the only light from the pale illumination of the full moon. It was enough to navigate by. Surrounding me, I could see wild grass, trees, and large rocky hills nearby. The quiet and rural landscape of the country, perfect for intimate murders with few witnesses. Perhaps someone was killed in the forest, in a slaughterhouse, maybe even on the road. I hummed these thoughts to myself as the rain continued to pour down, but rather than make any early guesses, I would let the scent of death guide me instead. I breathed in the air and let the bittersweet aroma guide me down the wet, rainy road. Sooner or later, I would come across a corpse. It was only a matter of time. I didn't have to wait long, as after about 10 minutes of walking, I could see shapes in the darkness. A modest home, a collection of cars carefully parked on the roadside, and, more importantly, a group of costumed humans gathered close together by the entrance. Well, it was Halloween. It was no surprise that they were all dressed up, but in a rural area like this, would they really be going trick or treating? They look too old to be doing that. Or have adults started going around asking for candy these days? Hmm. I walked closer but kept to the shadows so I could get a better look at them while staying undetected. Things could get complicated once I revealed myself. I couldn't hear them very well over the downpour, but I was close enough to be able to discern their appearances. The first one that caught my eye was a young man who was wearing an owl costume. He looked a little skittish and was trying to peer inside the house through its windows. There was a cardboard box by his feet, though I couldn't tell what was in it. Next was another young man who on first glance looked like a zombie, though as I observed him I corrected myself. Based on his outfit, I believed he was dressed as a Jianshi, a creature of Chinese myth that's a sort of vampiric zombie. Costume aside, he looked irritable and was pounding his fist on the door. And while I couldn't hear his words, I was able to make out his anger. Put simply, he was pissed, for one reason or another. My eyes cast downward to the man's feet, and I saw two plastic bags full of bottles. Lastly, there was a young woman who was wearing a dress with a tongue. Not an easy costume to work out straight away, but when you work with the macabre as much as I do, it's hard not to take an interest in various cultures' spookiness. I deduced she was wearing an interesting take on that umbrella yokai. Not bad, all things considered. And like the others, she had a plastic container by her feet full of something. She was busy typing away on her phone and also peering through the windows. Three people all dressed up in Halloween costumes outside of a pitch black house. One where the scent of death was ominously strong. Those poor humans were just going to end up waiting by the door until the night was done. While I can be very patient, I hate wasting time needlessly. I stepped out from the rain and approached the house. It didn't take long for the three to turn and not ice me. Who's there? Vic, is that you? Obviously that's not Vic. Stop jumping at every shadow that shows up. That's obviously not a shadow. That's a person, I think. What else would it be? A monster? What if it's a monster? Have you looked at yourselves? It talks. How kind of the group's fool to identify himself. It's Halloween. Of course there's going to be a bunch of monsters roaming about. Although, the umbrella lady pointed her phone at me, the light illuminating me entirely. That's a pretty great costume. You must have put a lot of work into that Grim Reaper outfit. Thank you. It's my work uniform. And she's in character too. That's some real dedication. Why are you complimenting her? I have to agree with Bernard on this one. This chick's kind of weird. What's weird about me? I'm just enjoying the night. I don't mean to offend, really, but we don't know you, and you just walked up to us out of the shadows. Not to mention all this weird stuff going on with Vic and. Who's Vic? Well, if I had to guess, I would say he's the victim. You're not even going to address the other things I said. I shot a stern glare at the owl man, who stiffened up and inverted his gaze. Well, I. I just. He just. Before the cowardly man could continue, the zombie raised his hand to make him stop talking. Look, I don't know who you are or what your deal is, but it's none of your business. What are you even doing out here? So the blunt approach wasn't going to work. That was fine. I can put on the charm when I need to. I cleared my throat and then pretend to shiver. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to impose. I was just on my way to work and lost control of my car on the muddy roads. I can't get cell service, and no other cars have come by to help, so I've been wandering along the road hoping to find some sort of help. I'm just a little irritable from getting soaked to the bone. You're literally standing in the rain like a creep, the owl guy mumbled under his breath. Luckily, it seemed that my pleading was enough to at least soften the zombie's glare on me. Maybe he did have a heart, perhaps even a non-rotting one, despite how good the rest of his costume was. Same thing happened to us. Sort of. We all got here before the rain got bad, but the mud's got all our cars stuck. And to make matters worse, we can't even get into Vic's house. Who's Vic? I hoped that this time they would be more receptive to my question. He's a friend of ours and a big horror fanatic. Every Halloween he hosts a big party for us at his house. The man pointed to the home in front of us. Well, it's not big in the sense of people, more in presentation. It's pretty remote here, but he goes all out with the decorations. Sometimes he goes too far. I swear he's given me heart attacks with the things he's done. I see. So you can't get into your friend's house. Sounds troublesome. It is. We're waiting out here in the rain and he's got the entire house locked up. Locked up. The door and windows are completely locked and you can't sit inside because all the blinds are closed and the lights are off. To make matters worse, he won't even answer his phone, so we have no idea what's going on. He had us off running errands and now we can't even get inside. It's a pain in the butt. I'm worried that something happened to him. People don't just host a party and then go completely dark, unless something's happened. Can I confirm everything? What do you mean by confirm? Confirm that the door and windows are locked. I mean, we checked, so. Yes, I know you checked. I just want to check for myself. May I? Knock yourself out. I approached the front door, reaching out for the knob and twisting it. Sure enough, it was locked, but just to be certain, I tried shoving the door. You have to be that thorough. Yes, you would be surprised by how many locked doors are just blocked off by some obstacle. Really, you must know a lot about this kind of thing then. Quite so. Anyway, I'm going to check the windows now. But you'll have to circle the house for that. You'll get your boots all muddy. That's fine. I'll just wash them off in the rain when I get back. You really are weird. Noted. Now if you'll excuse me. Hey, will you need a flashlight or something to be able to see? One of us should go with you. There's no need. Even if a phone has no signal, its flashlight can still work just fine, like you showed when you lit me up. Oh, of course. Indeed. Now, if you'll excuse me. I didn't wait for her permission, but instead walked past them to inspect the outside of the house. And you guys should probably turn off the lights on your cars. If you're stuck here for too long, you'll run the batteries out and you won't be able to get out even if your cars stop getting stuck in the mud. That's not a very smart move. In truth, I didn't have a phone, but I have excellent night vision. They didn't need to know that, though. Right before I rounded the side of the house, I spied the umbrella woman whispering to the others there. She glanced in my direction and then winked at me. I wasn't sure why she did that, but I didn't let it bother me. I inspected the windows around the house, and they were properly locked, or at least they seemed to be. If there was a dead body in there, and I was certain there was, it was well protected. I walked back to the front of the house and looked at the other people gathered there. It seems you were right. The house's windows are all locked. Right, like I said before. Did you not trust me? I would be a fool to trust people I just randomly met in the middle of the night. Who in their right mind would do that? The umbrella girl raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I wonder who. Guys, I'm getting really worried. Fear not, there's an easy way to resolve this. There is? Yes, all you have to do is simply unlock the door. The other three looked at me as if I were mad. Don't you think we would have done that already if we could? So none of you have a key that opens this door? It's not our house, so why would we? I assumed that if you were all good friends of Vic, at least one of you would have a spare. Hey, don't go off saying things like that. Every person is entitled to their privacy. Right, privacy, of course. I shrugged and walked up to the door. Well, then we're left with no other option. And that is, we just have to break down the door. Break it down? We can't do that. Why not? You want to get inside, don't you? I. I mean, yes, I do, but is there something inside that you wouldn't want me to see? What? Why is that the first thing that you jump to? And I fail to see why we can't just break down the door and enter. Because Vic would probably want to kill us if he found out we wrecked his door. Oh, yes, I suppose that would inconvenience him. We're just realizing that now. We could have someone jump through a window instead. How is that any better? I've heard that's cheaper to replace a broken window than a broken door. Time spent in hospital recovering might balance out the costs, though. The owl man's jaw dropped and he looked at the others, no doubt stunned at the realization that the windows were an alternate point entrance point. Just play along, it's probably part of the act. The act? It was rather sweet the way they still hadn't realized I was being entirely serious. Well, they could believe whatever they liked, as long as they would agree with us getting inside. Fine, but if Dick gets upset, you're taking the blame. Whatever, I just want to get the stuff inside and drink already. I walked up to the door of the zombie man, who looked at me and then at the door. So, how are we going to do this? Have you never kicked down a door before? I usually just use a handle, or take the hint I'm not meant to go through that door. Okay, then I will show you in case you have room to do so. It's quite simple, really, depending on the door. I walked up to the door and adjusted my stance. You want to stand about a leg's length away. Prepare the kick with your dominant foot. Aim for just above or below the lock, or use a flat foot. Use a flat foot. Make sure your knee is slightly bent on impact, and then I raised my foot into the air and delivered a swift and heavy kick to the door. It wasn't enough to break the door open on the first try, but the sound of splintering wood meant there was progress. There, now you can give it a go. The zombie looked uncertain and turned to the others. Can you show me how to do it again? I sighed. Why couldn't these humans learn from just watching once? Fine. Like I said, just copy my form and the door should buckle easily. Watch carefully this time. I took a step back and delivered another kick to the door, except this time the door broke open and swung inside the home. There, it only took 2 kicks, and I'm not particularly strong. Girl, don't be so modest. You knocked that door clean off its hinges. No, I didn't. See, it's clearly still attached. Anyway, shall we go inside? I didn't bother waiting for a response and walked inside the house. Hey, wait! Aren't you supposed to ask for permission before entering? That's what vampires do, not reapers. I meant like a decent human being. Did you not hear me? I'm a reaper. She's way too committed. The others walked in behind me and flipped on the lights. Vic, we had to bust your door down since you wouldn't answer your phone. We think that this is part of some weird prank you're doing, so hopefully that's part of the act. Don't say we. This weird girl is the one who broke it down. I'm not going to take any responsibility for what happened here. As we all entered the home, I noticed that each of them had brought their box or bags inside. Zombie and Owl walked over to the kitchen. The former began unpacking bottles of alcohol onto one of the countertops, while the latter began to arrange boxes and packets of snacks onto another. None of the food got wet, did it? It's all in plastic packaging, so it's dry, don't worry. I turned to the umbrella girl, who was pulling multiple VHS tapes and DVDs out of some bags. She was even plugging various wires into the nearby TV and VCR DVD combo player. Despite being worried about their friend, they didn't seem to have much urgency in going to find him. Of course, they were only human. They couldn't smell his corpse from afar like I could. I took a sniff of the air. The acrid, bittersweet smell was more intense inside the house. There was no doubt that a body was in here somewhere, but I didn't need to rush to find it. That would just make everyone here frantic and hard to talk to. I chose to take advantage of that moment of calm to glean some information out of them. Before I picked their brains individually, it would help me to gather them all up together first. Episode 2, Breaking and Entering, Find a Way into the House. Pardon, but may I ask what it is you brought you together? How many chapters are there again? There's 11. You seem more preoccupied with unpacking things than checking for your friend. Well, we couldn't just leave the stuff out in the rain. Yeah, Victor was pretty strict about making sure we had everything in place for the party. As far as I'm concerned, we still have to set everything up right for when he shows up. When he shows up. Right, because this whole thing is just a prank. You're in on it, right? I said nothing and just stared at the owlman unblinking. I, until he decided to turn away. Gotta say that she's got that uncaring reaper attitude down for sure. I take offense to that. I am very caring when I need to be. I just say need to stay professional when I'm working. There, she just admitted that she was working. My words seem to just go through one ear and out the other with these people. Now that I think about it, we haven't been introduced. What's your name? Rhea Perrin. That sounds made up. It's a stage name. Of course it's made up. Yes, it was made up by somebody, just as all your names are, I assume. Technically that's true, I guess. Well, why are you glaring at us like that? I'm waiting for you to tell me your names. You don't know our names? How would I know your names? I just met you only a few minutes ago. Well, you know that one guy's named Bernard, right? Because he said his name. I mean, that's true, but didn't Victor tell you our names in advance? They still thought that was part of some prank. I shook my head. Mia, are you sure that she's not like some lunatic witch stumbling in from the forest? Witches would not be allowed to wear this uniform. Yeah, Bernard, witches would obviously have a hat and broomstick dust, so that's Mio. See, they've pretty much told us their names already. That's not what I meant. So you two are Mio and Bernard. Yes, I'm Mio Yoshida, and that's Bernard. Bernard Hahn. Wait, why did we give her our last names? What if she uses them to commit fraud? How would she do that with just our names? I don't know. I just don't want to give out my personnel details so easily. It's only fair to give out your full name after I gave out mine. How do we even know that it's your real name? I'm wearing a name tag. It's part of my uniform. I shifted the amethyst on my outfit to show the crystallized name inside. What about the zombie? What is his name? It's Kai Duran. Excellent. Now that we're all acquainted, I would like to ask the group some questions. Sure, fire away. First question. I saw you all gathered outside together. Did you all arrive at the same time? No, I was the first to show up here. Bernard showed up next. Then finally, Neo. So you showed up alone first, Kai. That's what I just said. And the door was locked when you first arrived. Kai frowned and looked back at the open door. Yeah, I knocked on the door and rang the doorbell, but Vic didn't show up, so I just waited a couple of minutes. That's when the others showed up in their cars. We each drove here on our own, and we had a few errands to run before the party was going to get started after all. That's probably referring to all the food, drinks, and entertainment that they brought. I will ask them each about that later. When did you check the windows? Maybe a couple of minutes after we were all arrived and tried calling Victor. We figured we would check around the house. Mio didn't want to get her costume all muddy, so Kai and I went around the house while she waited up front. You're making me sound like a jerk. I'm not. The rain was starting to come down a bit harder, so I don't blame you for wanting to stay out of the dirt. That's funny, considering that you're an umbrella yokai. It's just a costume, it's not waterproof. Regardless, did anything happen while you were standing watch or inspecting around the house? No, the curtains on the windows were closed so we couldn't even see inside with our phones. And we couldn't really hear anything aside from the rain. So they had no idea what the state of the house was until they got inside. Was that deliberate or just a coincidence? Nothing happened while I was waiting up front either. And how long were you alone for? Couldn't have been more than a couple of minutes. Maybe like 3 minutes at most. Then Kai and Bernard came back. We waited a couple of minutes, pounded on the door some more, kept calling Vic. And then you showed up. I see. Thank you. I have a better grasp of the timeline now. Kai showed up first, so he could have been inside or done something else while he was alone. Not that I really saw any evidence of that, but I should at least keep the possibility in mind. And Mio was only alone for about 3 minutes. That might have been enough time to tamper with something. I knew that I would have to keep my eyes open for anything that seemed off. Speaking of, this room seems extremely well decorated. Someone put a lot of work into it. That's Vic for you, a fanatic perfectionist. He doesn't have to go all out on the decorations, but every year he does. I think it's kind of sweet the way he does all this for us. Except the time he had that damn haunted animatronic doll that scared the bejesus out of me. Yeah, that was a good year. So he does all this himself. Always likes to make the party a big surprise. Seems that's the same way this year too. I figured that you're part of the decorations now too. Kai pointed at me and I stared blankly at him. I am no decoration to be gawked at. Right, right. Well, if that's everything, let me get back to pouring out all these bottles. They were a pain to pack up and I don't want anyone tripping over them. Go ahead, I'll simply observe for the time being. Yes, I noticed the clue we got. House decorations. The lounge of the house is extravagantly decorated, including fake cobwebs, nooses, creepy paintings, fake spiders, back stickers, and jack-o'-lanterns. According to the others, Victor does all the decorating himself. That's not for Priya, that's for you. Priya solved this mystery from the clue she found. Will you manage to do the same before her final reveal? Pay attention to the clues. At the end of the investigation, you'll get another message before the big reveal. See if you can figure it out before the mystery is explained. Good luck! I stepped back and let the others get back to their duties. Not that I was going to sit back for too long. Now it was time to get personnel. I would have a small chat with each of them before I gave them a slight push to find out where their friend had disappeared to. I walked over to Kai, who was organizing the bottles. The drinks ranged from sodas to whiskey to even some water bottles, each with tamper-proof seals still unopened. Humans are always so worried about people messing with their food and drinks. Quite the selection you have there. Well, what's a party without alcohol? A party? Alcohol isn't needed to have a good time. Kai rolled his eyes. Yeah, well, it makes things better, that's for sure. Vic knows that as well as anybody. That's why he asked me to get drinks. Was there any particular reason why he asked you specifically? Because I know the best places to get it were cheap without sacrificing quality. There aren't a lot of stores around here, so knowing where to get good booze is a handy skill, one that I perfected over the years. What an impressive skill that will certainly aid you in the future. I mean, it probably comes in handy if you're on a budget, but more importantly, I can mix these things up into something really tasty once the party gets going. So this Victor fellow invited you to be the bartender. That makes much more sense. He invited me because I'm his friend. There's not much more to it than that. How long have you known him for? Since we were in kindergarten, I think, so quite a long time. The guy's always been a bit of a weirdo. No, not a weirdo. I mean, sure, he's weird, but he's more eccentric. That's the word. Isn't that the same as weird? Weird is like insulting. Eccentric has more of a positive spin, doesn't it? They both mean strange and out of the ordinary, but I suppose that eccentric has a more positive connotation. Victor's a good guy, but he tends to get caught up in his own thoughts sometimes. That's why we balance each one another out well. I'm the grounding force that keeps him from having his head in the clouds. How sweet. You really care for him. Don't make it sound so sappy. That's just what good friends do for one another. You would be surprised that many good friends aren't really that kind at all. That's their problem. Victor and I go way back. We have a bond as strong as steel. I see. Poor Kai. It wouldn't be long, after all, until he found out that even steel can be shattered. By the way, do you have a favorite drink? I'm a pretty good mixologist. I don't drink that often, but I could go for a whiskey sour. His face dropped as he looked over his collection of bottles. Is that going to be a problem? Well, sort of. I didn't bring any lemon juice. Isn't lemon juice a common ingredient in a lot of drinks? Did you just forget to buy it? No, if anything, I remember to not buy it. I don't understand. Vic has a problem with lemons, so I try not to get anything that might have lemon flavoring in it. What about the others? What if they wanted a lemon drink? Then they can be good friends and have their second choice. I've got to look out for Vic after all. That still doesn't make sense to me. Don't worry about it. I'll just make you something else later, alright? Okay, if you say so. I'll leave you to organize your makeshift bar. Yeah, I'll do just that. I left Kai alone and moved back to the center of the living room. A variety of bottles and liquids used for mixing and making drinks, colas, ginger ale, vodka, whiskey, root beer, and orange juice. All their tamper-proof seals are intact. Kai brought these to the party. I decided to talk with Mio, who was now busy plugging various wires into the television. Is there a reason why you are the one doing all the technical work? The others got drinks and snacks, so I got stuck with movie duty. If you don't use the right wires, then you won't get the right sound or video. Old tech is so annoying. TV cables, a bundle of ancient and unintuitive television cables used to connect the VHS DVD combo player to the TV. Mio brought them to the party. And you had to get all these movies as well. I glanced over at the collection of VHS tapes and DVDs on the table. Game of Misfortune, Void Space, Technique, The Investigator Gauntlet, Detective Stewart, Cruise Ship Killings, I See Annabelle, Ray, Rave. Interesting collection here. Yeah, these are some bona fide classics. A collection of bona fide classics VHS and DVD movies that Mio brought to watch during the party. Game of Misfortune, Void Space, Technique, The Investigator Gauntlet, Detective Stewart, Cruise Ship Killings, I See Annabelle, Ray, Rave. Is there a reason why you're watching them on old VHS tapes and DVDs? You could probably stream them. Vic thinks that there's a sort of horrific charm in watching old media on old technology. Makes sense. Did you pick these out yourself? Some of them, yeah. Vic knows that I've got good taste when it comes to horror-related stuff. That's how we met, you know? At the school occult club. And occult club. Yep, a lot of people are off-put by scary stories and occultness, but I think they're fascinating. Every culture has its monsters, ghosts, and spirits to watch out for. Why not learn how the horrors of the world manifested in each of them? That's actually a very intellectual way to look at it. Thanks, I take my research seriously. I can tell. Your outfit looks pretty accurate for a Casa Obake. You're covering one leg to represent how they're one-legged, right? Mio's eyes went wide, and soon after, so did her smile. You get it. Oh my gosh, I thought no one was going to see all the effort I put into this. You must be an occult fan yourself. Not really. This kind of info just comes with my job. Right, because you have to research to play a bunch of parts, don't you? Sure, whatever you say. It would have been more hassle than it was worth to argue about it at that point anyway. In that case, maybe you might want to try it up your game with some other ideas. Give me a second. Mio started looking around the living room until she found a particular book and laid it all out on the table. I found this masterpiece in an old library that was selling off books that hadn't been borrowed in years. What is it? A catalog of all sorts of monsters, spirits, and cryptids, with detailed sketches and descriptions. I lent this to Victor because he likes to use it for inspiration whenever we have these parties. I see. Thank you. Go on, no need to be modest. You can take a peek. I promise the forbidden knowledge within will burn your eyes out. Thanks, that's reassuring. Mio's big eyes were glaring expectantly at me. I had a feeling that there wasn't any way I could get away without at least entertaining the book with a glance. I sighed and then opened the book to a random page that was bookmarked. It had detailed descriptions and sketches of 4 monsters. Werewolves. Powerful beast of the night that transform from human to powerful beast man with ravenous hunger and ferocity. Contrary to popular belief, the transformation is more akin to a blood explosion, with the skin bursting apart as the wolf-like features push their way over the skeleton. Gross. Direct contact with moonlight is required to trigger this transformation, and even then only during a full moon. The best way to deal with a werewolf is to use silver, fire, or simply execute the human when it reverts back from its wolf form. Werewolves can go back to being human if not exposed to moonlight for extended periods of time. I moved on to the next section. Doppelgangers. Masters of disguise, these monsters are able to steal the skin of the dead and alter their bodies to match. While not inherently dangerous on their own, a doppelganger's desire to fit in sometimes causes them to murder to find a disguise that will offer them safety. When they steal the skin of a fresh corpse, they gain access to their memories and personality, allowing for a perfect disguise. They even inherit physical conditions, such as poor vision, intolerance to milk, or even a recently contracted illness. Doppelgangers use their diamond-shaped claws to dig deep into the body, and tear it off without damaging the rest of the tissue. A technique that has served them well for many years. Be on the lookout and trust nobody. That was an interesting read. Reapers. Something on my kind. I was curious to see what they managed to get right and what misconceptions they conjured up. Reapers are servants of death, ushering the deceased to their final resting place. Correct, though with such common knowledge it didn't even need to be written down. They usually take the form of a skeleton shrouded in a cloak of darkness, although they are rarely seen. What? Where did they get this information from? Why do humans always jump to the wrong conclusions when the supernatural is involved? Yes, we have skeletons. That doesn't mean we just walk around all bony. That would be a horrible disguise. There are many flavors of reapers, each type specializing in certain deaths. Grim reapers, laughing reapers, withering reapers, dauntless reapers. Technically true, though I'm not sure the names are a perfect match. I do hate dealing with those overly joyous reapers, always laughing and smiling about stupid deaths. I suppose that comedy is a way to help some souls move on, though. Despite the differences in name, they all share the same common powers of being able to sense death and transport souls. True, we also have a few more tricks to help ourselves blend in without being not-iced and traverse the world. I personally don't mind a bit of fame, though. Their work is unyielding and never-ending, leading to all reapers living long and lonely lives, until Master Death calls on them to rest. They certainly live longer than they realize, and longer than they would likely be able to comprehend. But lonely? Hardly. Reapers interface with one another very frequently. How else could we hear a claim when we reap complicated souls? And our jobs often have us in contact with many humans, if only for a few brief moments. And death doesn't toss away useful servants, though if a reaper is careless enough, they'll happily assign the role to someone more worthy. Not that I have to worry about that. Now, on to the last one. Slimes. Extremely rare and extremely dangerous, the slime is able to suffocate and digest organic matter with its acidic body. Slimes may appear small, but they may be simply hiding portions of their body between cracks. Never approach a slime. They consume everything aside from bones, and worst of all, if a slime consumes a sentient being, it gains a cunning intelligence and may start to morph its body to lure and prey. If you suspect a slime is impersonating someone, look for a slime-like tether anywhere on their body. A cunning slime may try to disguise it as gum or dough. Do not fall for it, and simply run. I have to admit that I wasn't too familiar with these creatures. Honestly, humans believe in a lot of made-up nonsense, and miss a lot of things that are right under their noses. Not that I was going to tell Mio that. I know, right? It's a treasure trove of valuable information. Let's hope that your friend didn't decide to put any slime-like traps around the house to fit the mood. Knowing him, no thing is off the table. Anyway, I should get back to setting this out properly. I don't want to have to battle with a tangle of cables in the dark later. I'll leave you to it then. I put the book back down on the table and left Mio to her work. Werewolves. Okay, so that's pretty much the... It's just saying what the book said pretty much. Yeah, it's just what the book's saying. What we just read out. Pretty much. I walked up to Bernard, who was unpacking various food items from a box onto the kitchen counter. He kept looking away from me as I stared at him. Well, what? Nothing. I'm just observing what you're doing. I'm just unpacking some snacks for later. It's not all that interesting. I narrowed my eyes to inspect what he was unpacking. Boxes of crackers, popcorn packets, some bags of candy corn, 2 jars of cookies with fancy lids, and colorful candy bars. I suppose you're right. It's not all that interesting. What I find interesting is why someone so easily spooked ended up befriending someone obsessed with horror. Just strikes me as odd. Is it really that odd? Yes, while you may be dressed as an owl, I sense that you have the soul of a chicken. Why are you so rude? Why are you a coward? First of all, I'm not a coward. It's perfectly normal to be scared of things. So what if I'm a little jittery? It'll keep me safe if someone runs at me with a knife. I suppose there is some benefit to cowardice, but that still doesn't explain how you befriended someone that probably spooked you, no? Well, we both like the same sort of games. Games. Horror games. We played them together growing up. You can't convince me that you willingly played horror games with your skittish attitude. Well, I would never play them alone. I would always ask Victor to play them while I watched. But I liked the stories a lot. I just couldn't get through the gameplay. What a strange way to bond with someone. That was just how we got to know one another. After that, the friendship just came naturally. That comes with its usual pros and cons. Such as? Well, Victor is a mischievous guy, likes to play pranks and make stupid jokes, even if it scares the life out of me. That's just the guy he is. But he's also dedicated. I mean, he always hosts his party every year without fail and always makes it fun. So I can't say he's a bad guy. I just wish he would calm down a bit more. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Well, what does that mean? Nothing. I don't want to spoil the surprise of you finding out just how calm he is now. Dead calm. Anyway, can I have one of these snacks? I haven't eaten since I got here. I reached over to one of the jars of cookies he had pulled out. But Bernard smacked my hand away before I could grab one. Don't touch that. I withdrew my hand and glared at him. Oh, we're not supposed to eat them until the party starts. Victor told me, so you can't have any. It's just one cookie. You're not even a proper guest, so don't act like you're entitled to one. I grumbled under my breath and looked all over all the snacks with envy. Fine, keep your stupid snacks. I didn't want one anyway. I did, but with the owl keeping watch, there was no way I would be able to sneak one. I'll just punch him in the face and tell him to fuck off. Just grab one. Fuck it. But I'll get one of those cookies. Mark my words. Just punch him in the face. Just punch him in the face and just grab one. Fuck it. An assortment of snacks, including popcorn, candy bars, 2 jars of cookies, and candy corn. Party animal. Get to know all the guests. That's apparently chapter 3. That had been an interesting set of distractions, but I needed to get things moving. This has been pleasant and all, but shouldn't the host of the party be revealing themselves about now? Yeah, even if this is a joke of some kind, Vic should have shown up already, unless it has some kind of long build-up. Maybe you should go looking for him. Kai groaned as he stood up and looked to the doorway ahead. All right, I'll go and look for him then. Shouldn't we all go together? I guess we could if you want to. I'm still setting things up. All you're doing is taking food out of a box. You can leave it for a second, can't you? What if someone eats something while I'm gone? You wouldn't have to worry about that if we all left together. That's a good point. This must be part of the prank. Maybe we're meant to all go together. Like Walt. The eye on her chest is dilating. The pupil on her eye. That's a little suspicious. Like we'll all come across a gruesome scene when we're grouped up. Why would I want to see something like that? Because it's Vic that we're talking about. If it's going to be such a big hassle, just stay put and I'll be back in a few minutes at most. Vic's house isn't that big anyway, so he'll be easy to find. I don't like people wandering off alone, so I considered whether to accompany him. I was about to follow Kai into the hall when Mio grabbed me by the arm. Priya, I just remembered something. What? I turned back to watch Kai go down the hall and turn a corner and vanish from sight. He had gone. You said that you were having issues calling for help earlier. If your phone's still not working, you can use mine. Unless you don't really need to call for help. She smiled coyly as she held her phone out in front of me. I had a feeling that she knew that I didn't really need to call anyone and was just testing me. But she thought that I was just some actor, then why was she interfering? Maybe she wanted to throw a wrench into the perceived prank that Vic had laid out. Or did she simply not believe in it at all? Maybe she viewed me as a complete stranger. Right, I'll see if I can call them. I took the phone from her hand and began to type in a number. It was just a dummy number that I usually use to fake a phone conversation. I let it ring a few times before feigning frustration. All the while, Mio seemed to be looking around the room, putting a hand up to her ear. Was she listening for a phone to ring? Damn it, they're not answering. I wonder if he put it on silent. She must have thought I was calling their friend Vic. I handed the phone back to Mia, who pouted as she tucked it away. Really committed to the part. Come on, you can tell me what he's planning. Girl to girl, yeah? What do you mean? We all know that Vic hired you as some material for whatever prank he's got set up. Come on our side. Let's flip things a little and spook him instead. I really don't understand what you're talking about. Fine, I'll say it plainly. Vic's always getting the drop on us with these pranks and tricks. We've all been itching to get a little playful revenge on him. Why not help us out instead? I'll pay you double whatever he paid. Is it really that important to trick your friend that you would pay someone to help you? At the very least, it would be memorable. So come on, tell us where he's hiding and maybe we can plan something out. I'm sorry, but I really don't have any idea where. Holy shit. Our conversation was cut short as Kai's voice boomed through the house. Well, what's going on? What was that for? Kai probably fell for one of Vic's tricks again. Guys, come over here quick. I felt a frisson of excitement knowing that the main event was about to play out. He sounds serious. Boy, what did he do this time? Drop a bucket of fake spiders. There's only one way to find out. The three of us hurried out of the living room and through the doorway. We followed the sounds of Kai's cries and turned left at the hallway. He was waiting right by the door, face slightly pale as he kept a hand on the doorknob. What happened? There's some really weird shit in the laundry room. Can you be more clear? What did you find? A skeleton, and just a skeleton. You were spooked by a skeleton. That's just like the most basic ass Halloween prop. Skeletons can be scary. Shut up. It's not just the skeleton. It was the crap that was on top of it too. Like dirt. No, it was. Just let me through so I can take a look at it. Wait just a. I didn't bother listening to Kai and pushed past him, swinging the door open to reveal what had horrified him. And boy, oh boy, it was quite a scene. My eyes locked into the realistic looking skeleton in the center of the room, lying on top of it, a pile of viscera and sinew. The putrid smell of guts and blood set my senses ablaze as I walked closer to the display. I had seen gory deaths before, but never one quite like this. This is some serious production value. Vic really upped his game with the fake blood and guts this time around. Why are you impressed? This is fucked up. Even for Vic, this is going too far. I'm gonna be sick. Okay, sure, it might be a bit gory, but it's got to be fake. Like homemade blood and guts. Or maybe he just ordered it online from a store. Hell, he could have gotten it from the local butcher. Right, right. It's just fake. Bernard breathed a sigh of relief only to gag and cover his mouth. It smells horrible. Why the hell did he have to make it smell like a corpse too? See what I mean? You would be scared shitless if you discovered this too. I didn't even realize it was fake until he started explaining it. Fake? No, this isn't a fake body. This is certainly a real corpse, even if it's been rearranged a bit. They couldn't know, but I could sense the lingering soul chain to this body. Even without the supernatural knowledge, I could tell that these weren't fake bones. The sinew, the flesh, the blood, the smell. While I wasn't sure how the body ended up in this state, I was certain that this was a corpse. Not that the others were willing to believe me. Okay, I know that you're supposed to be like a mood setter and all that, but can you cut it out? This is seriously some freaky shit. We're all thoroughly spooked. You win. Now don't go on saying that this is real. Please don't. I don't think that my tummy could take it. Yeah, it's just a joke, right? You got us, Vic. You can come out now. So seriously, you got us. Can we just go back to having a normal party, please? If you think that this is a joke, I implore you to look closely at this fake corpse presented to you. Look how fresh this blood is. The smell. You can even poke at the viscera if you want. I will not be doing that. I seriously would pass out if I have to get any closer to that thing. I don't want to get blood on my outfit. Kai was the only one willing to get closer to inspect the body. He shakily held out his finger and poked around the blood and guts. It's warm and wet and, well, why the hell is it warm? Fake stuff isn't supposed to be this warm, right? There's probably just some heater underneath all this stuff, and maybe this is all just butchered pig guts. I had to give him credit. He was thinking really hard to find some excuse for this not to be real. You're free to dig around further, but I doubt you'll find any sort of heater under all that. You'll just end up staining your outfit. Plus, how would your friend manage to connect the sinew of pig guts onto a fake skeleton so realistically? Shut up. It's not real. It's not real. I'll do the digging for you. I'm used to rummaging through corpses. I slid my hand underneath the viscera and carefully lifted it, blood and stray flesh leaking between my fingers. The only thing beneath it being a blood-soaked floor. What the fuck? Kai, please tell me you're just playing along. Please just tell me that you're part of this act too. Of course I'm not. Why the hell would I want to be a part of something this sick? So it's real? It's a real corpse? Why the hell is there a corpse in Vic's house? Gods, is that Vic? How the fuck did he end up like that? Shut up, Bernard. We don't know it's a corpse yet. It has to be a prank. It just has to be. Vic is going to come out laughing his ass off and explain his 50-step process on how he made this lifelike corpse, and then, we'll just strangle him near to death, laugh it off, and enjoy the rest of the party like normal. So please, Victor, stop messing with us already and just show yourself. They were each praying in silence, praying that their friend would appear from the shadows with a sadistic grin and maddening laughter. That maybe he had simply gone too far with a joke and didn't realize it. But the eerie silence and putrid smell wafting from the corpse only made their guts turn and their faces turn pale, and the caustic truth began to seep into their heads. This was no joke, no prank, no trick. This was the irreversible, horrible, painful truth. There was a corpse in their friend's house, and quite possibly it belonged to their missing friend. Please, are you done with the dramatics? Pretending that things are okay isn't going to solve anything. How the fuck can you say that? No, she's right. Even if she's being blunt and insensitive, she's right. This isn't a laughing matter. It's not a joke. Someone killed Vic and left him in this fucked up state. I don't want to believe it either, but what the hell are we supposed to do? We run. Obviously, their killer might still be around. Shut the fuck up, Bernard. I'm not going to run away when there's a killer on the loose. Someone who killed my best friend. I'll make them pay for
Stream
this.
elements. Said.
When I get my hands on
Stay
them,
moist, my friends.
I'll
Hydrate.
make this death look like child's play. Easy there, one murder at a time, please. Kai turned to me, rage etched on his face as his fist trembled by his side. And what about you? What the hell is your deal? How come you're so calm about this? Are you some actor that Vic hired? Why are you able to deal with this like it's normal? I said it before, didn't I? I'm a reaper. I deal with dead bodies all the time. I'm no actor. I was never in contact with your friend. I'm just as oblivious to what's happened as you are. Then you lied to us before about being an actor. First of all, I never once said that I was. That was an assumption that you all made. Or one of you made it, then like a contagion, it spread around to plague your minds. I looked over at Mio, who sheepishly kept her head down. I'll say this much. I've been honest about almost everything. My name is Priya. I was on my way to work, and no other cars happened to pass me by as I came to this house. My phone services wasn't working, and I'd be in big trouble if I didn't find someone to help me. Help me find a dead body, that is. The only thing that I was dishonest about was having a car. You can't really expect us to trust you after everything that's happened. You don't need to trust me. In fact, I invite suspicion. It means you'll be on guard. However, I'll say this much. I have a vested interest in helping you solve this murder, so it would do well for you to at least cooperate with me for the time being. Cooperate? No, we need to call the police and have them figure this out. You're free to call the police, but considering the state of the storm outside, it might take them some considerable time to get here. And from what I can tell, this corpse is relatively fresh. The murder might still be close. Best to be proactive than sit around and wait for outside help. No? But, but, can it, Bernard? Creepy and weird as this girl is, I think she's right. At the very least, we can try and figure some things out ourselves. I'm not going to let some twisted fuck get away with killing Vic, and I'm sure as hell not going to sit around and do no thing. But, just let them do their thing, Bernard. It's not like we'll get in trouble for at least trying. Yes, we will. I'm pretty sure there's some law against it, right? And even if there isn't, I don't think I could handle looking at a corpse that long. Then I would advise you to stand back, but don't run off. I want everyone close by while I begin my investigation. Fine, I'm still going to call the police. Even if they show up late, it's better than no thing. Bernard whipped out his phone and brought it up to his ear. After a few seconds, he looked down at the screen in frustration. Damn it, I'm not getting any service. Did the storm knock down a tree or something? Why is this happening tonight? It is storming pretty bad out there. We wouldn't be too hard to believe things are out of order. Bernard cursed under his breath and put his phone away. I guess we might as well do it your way then, Priya. Good. Now that we're all on the same page, I can investigate freely. Don't worry, Victor. We'll resolve your death in due time, and I'll reap that valuable soul you have. Chapter 4: Hide and Seek, Find the Missing Host. Gria, how should we start this investigation thing? No need to get complicated, we could just start by inspecting the body. Kai's face sank as he looked over at the mess of a corpse before him. I guess that makes sense. I'm not getting anywhere near that thing. Me neither. You don't have to touch it if you don't want to, but I would advise that you look closely. I doubt I'll miss anything, but extra pairs of eyes ensures we won't miss anything. We're right. Okay, let's check the skeleton. Let's see if there's anything of note on the skeleton. Okay, sure. Kai seemed relieved that we were delving through the still form entrails beneath the skeleton with our hands. I looked over the bones closely for anything of note. I'm not really sure what to look for. Bone damage, ideally a fracture or a break. It might give us a clue as to how your friend was killed. Maybe even cuts, though you would need considerable force and strength to stab through a bone. We're right. I started from the bottom and worked my way up. Nothing of note by the feet or legs. Hips were fine. Spine and ribs seemed okay. The fingers, hands, arms, and shoulders seemed undamaged as well. But things changed as I worked my way to the neck. There we go. What did you see? I pointed to the neck of the skeleton. See that piece of bone that's connected to some viscera? Yeah, that's the hyoid bone. It looks to be slightly fractured. It's not connected to any of the other bones. The hyoid bone is sort of a free-floating bone. It doesn't attach with other bones. It's the only bone in the human body with this feature. What, you think it got cracked when someone hit it? Possibly, though you'd also expect some other damage around the jaw and neck. This kind of injury is more common in strangulations. So Vic was strangled. I can't say for certain, but that's a strong option at the moment. Kai stared at the fractured bone for a second before pounding his fist into his leg. Bastard killer couldn't even look him in the eye when they killed him. Probably not, but no, let's not make assumptions this early. Moving on. The rest of the neck area seemed fine, and so I checked out the head. There was only one thing that caught my attention. A strange mark on the forehead of the skull in the shape of a diamond. What the heck is that? I'm not sure. As far as I know, people aren't usually born with marks on their skull. Is it some kind of rare birth defect or deformity? I dunno. Kai reached out and gently wiped at it with his finger. You're touching it. I just wanted to see if it was real or not. It's not drawn on. It feels like it's kind of etched in there. I felt the grooves in the skull myself. They were oddly smooth and shallow. Was this carved in after the killing? I doubt that the killer could have done this while the victim was alive. You would need some crazy kind of knife too, and some serious precision. I mean, it doesn't even pierce the skull. How do you manage something like that? Who the fuck makes a damn art project out of someone that they killed? A serial killer, most likely. This would be an interesting way of marking it. Have there been other killings like this? No, I've never heard of someone being killed and having a mark carved in their skull, or one where their skeleton got laid out on top of their innards. I see. Let's hope we're not dealing with a newborn killer practicing their art. Let's go through the viscera. Do we have to? You do not have to do anything, but I will investigate in case there's something of note in here. Aren't you a little grossed out? We're digging through blood and guts and whatever crud is in there. I have dealt with many bodies, but this one is a bit messy, but nothing I can't handle. What's more interesting is how the body ended up like this in the first place. How do you even... turn someone inside out like this. You might be able to do it if you had ample hours to cut and rearrange the corpse, but the freshness of it would imply that isn't the case. How fresh do you think this corpse is? I can't give specifics, but if I had to guess, probably no more than 1 or 2 hours. That recent is just an estimation, but we were literally texting Victor a few hours ago. Anyone can handle a phone. Maybe the killer simply pretended to be your friend over the phone. Or maybe you're making false assumptions about whose body it is, and Victor is the one that killed them. I guess that's possible. Still doesn't explain how they would manage to make this mess so quickly. Maybe the clue lies in here. I thoroughly searched through the pile of flesh and blood. I was hoping to find some personnel belongings in there, but all I found was more blood and guts. Nothing of note. I flicked my hands at the floor to get rid of some of the blood. Watch where you're launching that stuff. It's just blood. It's not just blood. It's my friend's blood, and all the inner stuff too. Yes, well, there wasn't much to find in there, so let's move on. Yes, please. Are you done with that? Chapter 5, 30 Secrets. I would say so, but that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily finished investigating this room. You're paying attention, I hope. Of course. I was. Kai simply nodded. Good, then let us continue. Now that I've had a good look at the body, I want to see if there's anything else hidden here. Hidden? Like what? A murder weapon, for example. This is a laundry room. Plenty of places to toss away something when you're done with it. I looked over at the washer and dryer. Like here. I believe that you could even wash or clean your clothes if you got them stained with blood. Isn't it extremely difficult to get blood out of clothes? Yes, but the culprit might not know that, so let's take a look. I walked over to the washing machine and opened it. It was empty. Nothing in here. What about the dryer? I opened the dryer and found one piece of clothing inside. I pulled it out and raised it up. It was some strange sort of costume or outfit, not too dissimilar to what the others had on. What is this? That looks like Vic's Walpertinger outfit. A Walper what? A Walpertinger. It's kind of like a joke myth monster around here. A rabbit that's got antlers, sometimes wings, or a beak, or a duck beak. It's a harmless creature, but apparently its saliva can make you sprout thick fur. And if it feels threatened, it can spray a nasty liquid at you like a skunk, which won't go away for 7 years. Never in my life or death have I ever seen such a strange creature. Well, it's not really a well-known one, so its description gets toyed around with depending on who you ask. But that's not what's really strange about it. What else could be stranger than a 7-year stench? No, I mean the costume, not the creature. That was Vic's Halloween outfit last year. She's right, there's no way he would wear the same thing again. And besides, he showed us what he was planning to wear tonight a few days ago. Maybe he just reused it for tonight. If there's anything I know about Victor, it's that he doesn't like reusing old ideas. He thinks it might make things stale. Maybe he was just cleaning it up, or the outfit that he originally had got dirty. I'm more curious as to why it was tossed in the dryer. Maybe it got wet, like with water or something. It's raining, so maybe Vic went outside and got the outfit drenched. But I still don't know why he would be wearing that outfit in the first place. It was odd, but I wasn't quite sure how it tied into the murder. I would just have to keep it in mind for later. Do you need to get some fresh air, Bernard? No, no, I can handle it. It's just the air. It stinks, and I can taste it too. It makes me sick. If it's making you feel bad, then you ought to lie down. Yeah, I think. Bernard suddenly held his hand up to his mouth. Okay, never mind. I can't handle this. Sorry, but I gotta go. Don't throw up right in front of me. Bernard frantically nodded and then blitzed out of the room. He is going to be a liability for the investigation. Lighten up. He doesn't have a strong tummy. You've already seen how skittish he is. I'm surprised that he hasn't pissed his pants after seeing his own shadow. Come on, he's not that much of a coward. Can you even blame him, considering everything that's happened here? Fine. I suppose it is a bit much to expect that everyone here will be able to act calmly. All I ask is that he doesn't act out in a way that disrupts them. Couldn't even last a full minute, could he? Christ, what is it now? Bernard, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. How could I be okay after seeing this? Well, what do you know? He may have found something useful. We're on our way, Bernard. Sit tight. You don't have to tell me twice. We darted from the laundry room and headed back down the hallway. Right across from us, we saw Bernard crouched down by a door. Bernard, are you okay? I'm fine. But obviously he was scared by something in this room, right? That's Victor's room. Well, maybe Victor's room is hiding something interesting. I reached for the door and swung it open. While I was expecting some shocking scene inside the room, I had to take a moment to pause to make sense of what stood before me. Blood smears over the walls and floor, toppled furniture and displaced items, and most shocking of all, a second. There's going to be four corpses. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it now. There's going to be four corpses, and it's going to be Victor setting them all up. And they're going to be like different, like the four different ways of dying: the Reaper, the slime, all that. Right, right. Now that is interesting. I strode purposefully into the room while the others were still busy tending to Bernard. A second corpse. I just hit the jackpot. 2 souls for the price of 1 mystery. Sure, it might be a bit more work, but this was definitely worth it. But just to be sure, I got closer to the corpse on the bed, and sure enough, I felt the intense presence of a distressed soul. All I had to do now was ensure that I saw this case perfectly. Holy shit, what the hell happened here? Mia was the first one to enter the room after me. Christ, there's so much fucking blood everywhere. Indeed, it's a much messier scene than the laundry room. But where there's a mess, there's often hidden clues. We're going to have to search for clues again. Before that, though, I need to speak with you all again. There's a matter of importance that we need to address. I walked back outside with Mio and shut the door behind me. Bernard was still on the ground, clutching at his head while Kai tended to him. Are you in a good enough state to answer questions, Bernard? Yeah, I can. Weirdly enough, the shock somehow made the nausea go away. Even still, I don't understand what the scene was about. Don't get ahead of yourself. I'll ask some questions and then you can give me the answers. Go easy on him. He's been through a lot. Yes, we're all having a rough night. I'm just trying to help get us through it. First things first. Bernard, why did you go to Victor's room? I felt like I was about to throw up, so I was going to the bathroom. Not the kitchen. There's a sink in there. I didn't want to get the sink all dirty in case we were going to eat there later. How considerate of you. Is the only bathroom attached to Victor's room. Yeah, it's a weird setup, but the only way to access the bathroom is by going through Vic's room. So it makes sense that he was going to run right through here. Fair enough. And what did you see when you opened the door? Well, nothing at first. The lights were off, so I felt around for the light switch to turn them on. And when I did, that's when I just saw the mess, the corpse, everything. I ran right out and called for help because I didn't know what the hell to do. A reasonable reaction. Now that we've got that out of the way, I need to ask a more important question. I stiffened my gaze onto Kai, Neil, and Bernard. Does anyone else live in here with Victor? A loved one, a family member, even something like a roommate? They all shook their heads. Vic lives by himself. I don't think he's ever had friends or family living with him. I see. Aside from you three, was he expecting any other guests here tonight? Maybe some repairman or a service worker? They each shrugged. He usually only holds these parties for the four of us. Plus, if there's any kind of work or errands that needs to be run, he has us do it. So you would say it's unlikely for him to have invited someone else aside from you three. Unless, because there's four people here, each one of the four people is one of these things right here. I don't know who the slime would be. That they're supposed to have like a tail or something, right? So maybe that could be the umbrella girl with that one thing trailing behind her, maybe. And then you would be the doppelganger with the corpse, and you would be the werewolf? That's what I'm saying. What about any enemies? Is there anyone that might wish to seek him harm? No, Vic might be a bit eccentric, but he's a good guy. I can't think of anyone that would want to hurt him. Just to confirm, there's no family, friends, enemies, guests, or anyone else who should be living here aside from Victor. And the only people that he invited to this party were you three. They each nodded. That's why we were so confused when you showed up. It's usually a close gathering just for the four of us. We figured that if you were some friend of Vic's, we would have heard of you at some point. If that wasn't the case, then we thought that maybe we were just hired help to set the mood. I see. Thank you for explaining all that to me. That does leave us with a slight problem. I peeked back into the room. We have two dead bodies, one of which I assume belongs to Victor, but I have no idea who the second corpse belongs to. But maybe that one's fake. Bernard, if you're about to spiral into a delusion, I'll smack that owl mask off your face. I'm not being delusional. I know this is real. It's just, I have no idea who it could be. Vic being dead makes sense, but a second person? I wouldn't even know where to start. Maybe there really is some freak serial killer on the loose. If there is, then perhaps they left clues. The only way we'll understand the truth is if we start investigating. You're right. It was bad enough with Vic dying, but a second person? I'm not going to sit here idly. I would also rather stay with the group until I at least figure things out. I also want to stay safe. Good, then I suggest we stick close so that we can watch one another's backs. You don't have to investigate, but at least keep your eyes peeled for anything that seems off. The three of them nodded and we entered Vic's room at once again. Unlike the last room, there were a lot more places to investigate and check up on. Surely there would be evidence somewhere that would point to the identity of our second victim. Let's investigate the body. Not this again. If you're going to complain, I'd rather you wait off to the side. No, I can tummy it. Good, now let's see what we have there. We walked up to the body. It was another bare skeleton lying on top of a bed with a pile of stinking viscera underneath. Looks pretty comparable to the last body we checked. I would agree, but it's best to be thorough. I can say that looks to be comparable freshness at least. I would estimate that this death also occurred only an hour or two ago. Really, that would be around the same time that Vic died. That can't be a coincidence, can it? Who's to say? Personally, I don't believe in coincidences, but they've been known to happen. Now let's not speculate and find out what information the corpse can give us. Like with the last corpse, I checked the skeleton from the feet and worked my way up. Unlike the last corpse, I immediately found a new scratch marks on the bones. One around the hip bone, one on the left hand, and two around the neck, though more telling were the multiple fractured ribs. There appeared to be multiple scratch marks on some of the bones, likely caused by stab wounds if I had to guess. The broken ribs may have been caused by someone stabbing through them. Holy fuck. That's so brutal. Yes, quite the intimate murder. Intimate. Close quarters. You can't stab someone with that much force without being close by. Anyway, aside from that, I continued up to the forehead of the skull. Just like the first corpse we found, this one had a diamond mark etched into the bone. I rubbed it and felt the familiar grooves that were just like the other body. To have the same mark on a second body done so cleanly can't be a coincidence. Is there some specialized tool that can leave a mark on a skull like this? Time to check through the viscera. Not a game. You don't have to look if you don't want to. Kai took a deep breath and then regretted it as the smell of the corpse overtook him. He coughed a couple of times and then pinched his nose. I'll just try and hold my breath. I smirked and then got to work searching through the entrails. Like the last time, it seemed to be just blood and guts, except when I felt something hard in the pile. I grabbed it and carefully pulled it out. The object was a cell phone. What the heck is a phone doing under that mess of blood and flesh? Who knows? It might have been placed there deliberately, or maybe it was hidden. The real question is, what's on the phone and whose is it? It's hard to tell with all the blood on it. True, let me clean that up. I wiped the blood off on my sleeves until the screen was visible. The screen blinked to life as I touched it. That's Victor's phone. I would recognize that image of the four of us anywhere. Well, that's good news. Chances are that we'll be able to find something useful on it then. Does anyone here know the code to unlock it? They all shook their heads. Well, it doesn't matter. The phone's already unlocked anyway. Then why did you ask? I wanted to see if someone might have had access to the phone's contents. That's all. That's a dirty trick. Anything for the truth. Now let's see what's stored on here. I scrolled through the phone's contents, but nothing seemed interesting. The contacts list was small, just Mio, Kai, and Bernard, with a few more generic listings for boss, mechanic, and the like. But those hadn't been contacted in months. The search history on the phone was just horror props and decorations, and some other strange stuff. Giant half skeleton, skeleton family, silly skeleton jokes, famous bones, most creative use of a skeleton. Can you identify this famous skeleton? What's with this guy's weird obsession with skeletons? I turned my attention instead to the most recent text messages that he sent. You can't go through those. Why not? Isn't it like a breach of privacy or something? Of course, my mistake. Let's give him 10 seconds to object. You don't have to be an asshole. No, but I do need to be thorough. This might lead us to finding out information about someone he invited. Aren't you curious? I am, but It's for the good of the investigation. Go ahead and search. I wasn't really going to ask for permission, but I'm glad that you see reason. I first checked the group chat that Mio, Kai, and Bernard were in. Nothing unexpected there. It was just Vic giving out instructions for what they each had to bring, along with the time for the party. Then there were individualized text messages to each of them. The one for Mio mentioned bringing extra cables for the VCR DVD machine, since the ones they had were slightly frayed and might not work. The one for Kai mentioned that he should be careful not to bring before getting on the road, and to wait until the party got started to indulge himself. Comparably, Vic sent a message to Bernard to make sure he had the right brand of Halloween exclusive sugar cookies that were on sale tonight only. Seems that Victor sent some messages to each of you individually. Special instructions like don't drink and drive, bring extra cables, and buy some special brand of cookies. He was stubborn about making sure that things went his way, so you each followed the assignments he gave out. Yeah, I mean, I would be an idiot if I drank and then drove over here. That's how you get people killed. Plus, you saw all the drinks I brought over. And I brought extra wires as he asked too. I got the cookies that he asked for. You saw them when you arrived. I didn't get to eat any of them though, but that's fine. I'll get to taste one sooner or later. But that seems to be everything that I could find searching through those remains. I'll just be keeping hold of the phone for now. Fine by me. Let's see if this bed has any secrets. What are you hoping to find on the bed? I'm not sure, but considering there's a dead body on it, hopefully something useful. I checked under the covers, which were soaked with blood, but found nothing unusual. When I lifted one of the pillows, however, a blood-stained knife gleamed in the light. And that's why we search every suspicious nook and cranny. Anyone recognize this knife? If I had to guess, it's probably a kitchen knife. Might even be from this house. Victor has a fancy set of knives. It might be from his knife block. I didn't think about it before, but if one's missing, then that's probably it. Vic takes care of his things. I see. A knife from Victor's own home wouldn't be the first time that's happened. And it looks rather sharp and well tended too. I could easily imagine something like this cutting through flesh and bone. Please, stop talking like that. Fine, I'll keep the gory details in my head. I'll be keeping this on hand just to be safe. You look like you want to say something. Do you think I shouldn't hold the knife? No, I mean, I just get nervous at the thought of anyone handling a knife during this investigation. Well, suck it up. I guarantee you that it's safer in my hands than in any of yours. He could be as pouty as he liked, but I was going to keep that knife safe and ensure nobody else got stabbed with it. Okay, that's everything around the body. Time to take a step back. Let's follow this blood trail. Do we need to? We know where it ends up. The victim just ended up on the bed and was probably killed there, right? Even so, we may find some evidence on the trail's path, or at least some insight on how the victim and culprit moved. Okay, that makes sense. I guess we would start here. Mio pointed at it to a not noticeable blood spot near the entrance of the room. Does that mean they were attacked here first? Probably, or this was the location where the blood was drawn first. Then if we follow that, our wounded victim ran to the left near the closet and had more blood drawn from them. Finally, they make one last attempt at escaping by running over to the bed, where they are seemingly caught and killed. Well, glean any new information? I followed the trail to see if anything stood out on its path. I passed by a hamper and dresser, each with a bloody handprints on them, and notably, a shirt and a broken lamp had blood on them as well. If I had to wager a guess, our victim may have tried to throw something at the killer as they attempted to escape. Maybe in their blind panic, they were reaching for something, anything that would save their life, but ultimately ended up dying on the bed. What a shame. Still, I can't say for certain that's how things went down. Just a small observation on my end. Now let's see if we can find something more conclusive in this mess of a room. Let's try and make sense of this chaotic room. There's a lot of random items littered about. Certainly not how I would like to keep my living quarters. Vic didn't keep his place like this. He was orderly, organized, and he wouldn't have blood anywhere, not even fake blood. I would hope that a sane man would keep blood out of the place where he sleeps. But that aside, these are the classic signs of a struggle, unless you're lying about Victor being a cleanly man. I've been here plenty of times before. I know that Victor keeps his place spotless. Then we can make a reasonable assumption that in some desperate struggle he made a mess of things here. Well, him or someone else. I guess. Anyway, allow me to do a detailed search of this mess. I carefully inspected the fallen furniture, the tossed clothes, and other spots that caught my eye. I even checked the windows to make sure they were locked from the inside. Indeed, they were. Most of these spots didn't have anything of note, but I did find something in the fallen hamper, an outfit that was absolutely drenched in blood. I carefully pulled it out from the hamper and showed it off to the others. Look what I found here. Shit. That outfit. That's what Victor was supposed to wear tonight. Wait, really? There's no doubt about it. We saw him showing it off a couple of days ago. Not with all that blood and stuff, but it's the same. That much I know for sure. Interesting. I inspected the outfit closer and realized that not only was it bloody, but it was damaged. There were cuts around the chest, collar, and the abdomen. Aside from the blood, was it always so tattered? No, it wasn't covered in all those cuts. I'm guessing those are cuts. Admittedly, it's scarier when it's all bloody and damaged like this, but I don't even want to look. I brought this outfit closer to me so I could inspect it, and as I did so, I heard a jingle.
Nomination echo.
What's that?
Best viewers on stream.com remove the space K hey Y.
I shook the outfit some more and heard it jingling again. The sound came from one of the pockets in the outfit, though stained ever so slightly with blood. I reached inside and pulled out a blood-stained key. Would you look at what we have here? Could you all confirm to me that this is the key to the house? I presented the key to the others who were quick to nod. I mean, it looks like it. I guess you could test it out on the front door if you wanted to be sure. But wait. If the key was inside and all the exits were locked, how did the killer get away? That's a good question. Let me think about it. The circumstances of where this key was found made things complicated. I like complicated. Let me take a look through the bathroom. Hopefully we'll find something useful. And if not, well, at least Bernard will be close to a toilet if he feels sick again. I ignored Bernard's complaining and walked into the bathroom. It was relatively clean, but the blood in the sink and on the nearby towels stuck out like sore thumbs. At least it's not as bad in here as it is in Vic's room. Agreed. Now let's take a quick look. I checked the sink. It was wet and there were obvious traces of blood in there. It was used relatively recently. Aside from that, however, I couldn't find anything else of interest in it. I checked the medicine cabinet, but all that was in it was a half-empty bottle of headache tablets and some ordinary toiletries. The toilet, thankfully, was also about as plain as can be. Same with the shower. So I finally checked the bloody towel that was hung near the wall. There sadly wasn't much that I could glean from a bloody towel, only that there was a fair amount of blood on it and that it was wet. Not case breaking, but it was information all the same. Pleased with what you found? I shrugged and turned to head back to Victor's room. Not disappointed, but not enlightened either. But not every discovery has to be case-breaking. Yeah, I guess you've got a point, but we have to be able to fit all this together, right? We have to. In due time, you can't rush a solution, otherwise you'll just crash and bumble your way through mistakes. Kai didn't seem all that happy with that response, but it was the truth. A good solution comes from putting every piece of evidence in the proper place. We just had to go one step at a time. Chapter 6 Skeleton Key. That was insightful. Did you manage to make sense of anything? Yes, I figured out that we're dealing with a lock room mystery. You're going to have to fill me in on what that means. It's essentially a type of impossible mystery, one where the victim is found in a locked room with only the key inside. In our case, we have two victims that were inside a locked house with no exits. Yet, the only key was found inside the pocket of this bloody costume. Aside from the door that I broke down earlier, there are no other notable signs of forced entry or exit, so it would seem that it would be impossible for our culprit to have committed this crime and then left the scene unnoticed. Hold on. So you're saying that these murders are basically impossible to solve? Don't get frantic. There's always a way to explain a murder. Even a locked room mystery can be explained through reason and logic. We just have to go through all the potential solutions. How should we start by trying to wrap our heads around this? First off, do any of you know the secret passages or hidden doors inside this house? Your friend strikes me as the type that might keep one around for the sake of scaring the occasional guest. As far as I know, he hasn't done anything like that. This is just a plain old house, and most he's ever done is add decorations to it. We're going to double check things just to be safe. Feel around for grooves in the walls, dust markings, some misplaced button, anything. I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Everyone thoroughly inspect the walls and items in Victor's room, but we found no thing. When we did the same for the bathroom, but again, no hint of a secret passage. That was a waste of time. There's nothing wasteful about ensuring that there's no secret passages. Plus, we still need to check the other rooms. We're going to check more. Yes, it would be incredibly naive of us to assume that just because one room didn't have a secret passage, that the others wouldn't as well. Okay, let's just get this over with then. We went back to the laundry room and checked again for secret passages, but we didn't find anything. After, we checked the living room area, yet we found no thing. While I was there, I confirmed that the key we found was the one that locked the front door. We checked and still didn't find any secret passage. So, what does that mean? It means that the culprit didn't use a secret passage. What else would it mean? I thought that you would have come up with a solution by now. There are other ways to explain the locked room, but before that, I need to ask, how many other rooms are there in this house? There's the attic, Aside from that, there's not much else. Lead me to the attic then. What are you hoping to find up there? Don't tell me we're going to search for more hidden passages. We might, but I would rather just ensure I don't miss any clues up there. Otherwise, I'll have to start getting sloppy with my deduction, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Kai, lead on. Kai didn't seem to enjoy being ordered around, but nevertheless followed my instructions and led our group to the attic. The climb up into the attic was short, but when we arrived, I had to take a moment to stare at all the clutter inside. Boxes on boxes stacked up on top of each other, all carefully marked and labeled so I could see that they should contain decorations, costumes, books, and taxidermy supplies. Bix always had interesting hobbies. Right. I looked over at the animatronic staring at us in the corner. If anyone tried to sneak into this place, they would probably be scared to death. Luckily, I have no fear. Okay, I guess I'll get searching. You're going to search through all these boxes. What are you looking to find? Something that'll crack this case wide open. That's kind of vague. I don't know how else to explain it. It'll probably be something that we'll know when we see it. Are you sure you know what you're looking for? There's so much crap up here that you'll drive yourself mad looking through every little box. I don't need to look through every little box, though. Not with precision, anyway. What I'm looking for is something that was likely thrown away in a hurry, something that wasn't easily disposable. I have a good feeling that it won't take me long to find it, so just sit tight while I look, okay? The three just looked at one another and watched as I started rummaging through the boxes, only taking a few seconds in each one. And after about a minute of searching, I found it. The thing that was going to give this whole mystery a new meaning, a new context, and a new solution. Here we go. Take a look at this. I reached down deep into the bottom of one of the boxes and pulled out the empty and discarded skin of Victor. When I revealed the horrifying mound of skin to the others, they stood petrified in fear and shock. Poor Bernard looked like he was on the verge of fainting. Chapter 7, Getting Goosebumps. Well, what the hell am I looking at? Skin, obviously. I know that's fucking skin, but why does it look like that? Fuck, I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. I've already seen so much fucked up shit tonight. It's like one of those creepy masks in horror movies, but it's a whole bodysuit. An astute observation. It really does look like something you could just wear, doesn't it? I was tempted to try and step into it to see if it would fit over my body, but that might be a bit too graphic for these poor souls. Instead, I laid the skin out on the floor like it was one of those bear rugs. This should give us a good perspective on things. What are we supposed to understand by you putting this thing out in front of us? I want to know why the hell there's even this fucking skin bag here. That's a good question, but don't you think you ought to know the answer by now? No, you can't mean. Haven't you thought it strange that both of the corpses we've found so far have had bones, blood, and viscera, but no skin? And here we are with only one victim's skin. It can't be. It just can't. What? What the hell are you freaking out about? I thought it was just a myth. I honestly thought it was just a myth. What? What are you talking about? What your friend is freaking out over is the fact that our killer is no mere deranged psycho. They are, in fact, A doppelganger. A doppelganger. You mean the shape changers? Wait, wait, wait. For once, Bernard was frantically demanding attention. No way. It's not real. Monsters aren't real. It's bad enough that they exist in fiction, but for them to be real. Stop. I don't want to imagine that there's actually some doppelganger here. Because, because, Bernard looked over at Mio, who mirrored his look of terror and dread. What? What would it mean? Are you acting slow, or are you truly that ignorant? I I don't have time to explain it to you right now. Talk it out with your friends. I'm going to inspect the skin. All right, I guess. In truth, I didn't expect that it would be an easy conversation for them to have, but they needed to have it. If only so that it would be easier for me to explain my theory later. While they did that, I looked over the skin and immediately spotted a couple of oddities. The first was the number of puncture marks across the skin. A pair by the neck, multiple ones by the chest, one by the lower abdomen. As expected. After that, my eyes went right to the hands. I noticed thick, red, irritated marks across the palm and fingers. They were on both hands, and they had a distinctive pattern. Not much of a surprise. If anything, it was welcome information. And another interesting point was a familiar diamond mark on the forehead of the skin. As expected, no surprise there either. What I was surprised by was the red bumps around the neck and face of the skin. That was not what I expected, but maybe. I hummed thoughts to myself, trying to put all the pieces together, but my attention was drawn back to the gawkers, who were now looking to me for answers. I assume that you've all caught on to what I meant earlier. The terrified looks on their faces would suggest that they had. I want to make sure that we all are on the same page. You're saying that the killer, the person that killed Vic, is a doppelganger. Yes, I said so quite clearly. Furthermore, I believe that our doppelganger not only killed your friend Victor. I raised a finger and pointed at each of them, but killed one of you, which is why we have two corpses. Our killer has managed to create a perfect disguise to go along with their seemingly perfect crime. The three of them looked at one another, eyes laced with suspicion, fear, and anger. I know that you probably feel some sense of dread right now. I urge you to stay calm. And I just thought about the name of the game. The name of the game is a combination of Reaper and Replaced. As in, there's a doppelganger that replaced a body, replaced one of the living, and a Reaper that's solving it. Okay. The doppelganger is probably just waiting for a moment of chaos to strike or at least escape. And we can't let that happen, can we? One of us is really a doppelganger. I can't believe that those myths were real. I can't. I can't. Kai was the only one who stayed silent, but unlike the others who were losing themselves in the horror of the situation, he seemed oddly calm. So we've got a doppelganger disguised as one of my friends. Fine, we'll handle this. There's an easy way to figure this out. He stood up and looked at Mio and Bernard square in the eye. One of you is that damned monster, so we're going to weed them out. Right here, right now. How do you plan to do that? It looks just like us. You're not going to be able to know just by inspecting our faces and bodies. Who cares about that crap? This monster might be able to look like us, but it doesn't know who we really are. All we have to do is ask one another things that only we would know. Intimate and personal crap like that. Then the fake will stick out like shit on a bathroom floor. Kai, I get that you want to figure this out, but it's... Shut up, Mio. If you're against this idea, then you're only doing it to save your own skin. What? That's not it at all. Yeah, Kai, ease up and at least let her speak. Bernard, I don't want this killer to weasel their way out of this. This is a foolproof method. Any excuse to get out of it just means that you're suspicious. So unless you want me to think you're the killer and the body snatcher, you'll play along. Bernard quickly relented to Kai's overwhelming authority. I didn't think that this was going to work, but it would at least prove useful in crossing off a suspicion I had earlier. Fine, what do you even want to ask? It's got to be something personal that we would both know, so you should probably make sure it's something that we also wouldn't have written down or texted about, in case the doppelganger went through Vic's texts and saw, like, older stuff. Good point. Alright, we'll use that as our criteria then. Kai paced around a fair bit before looking back at Mio. Okay, Mio, how old were you when you learned to swim? I was 16. I had to learn because we were all going to a water park to celebrate your birthday that year. Kai nodded, seemingly placated with the answer. Unfortunately, that meant that his suspicions turned to Bernard, who was already quivering like a leaf under his gaze. It's not me, I swear. If it's not you, then just answer honestly. There was a freak coincidence that happened a couple of years ago where we both happened to get on the same plane without prior planning. Where were we both headed? That's easy. We were both going to Iceland. I remember you kept glaring at me during boarding until I turned to look at you. That's correct. Kai's brow furrowed as he looked between Neo and Bernard. What the fuck? Then what's going on? Hold on. Don't we need to ask you something? I proved myself by asking you each a question. That's enough, isn't it? We should still do it just to be safe. Fine, ask away. There's no point. The doppelganger has access to our memories. It happens whenever it steals someone's skin. So you're telling me that this was all pointless? That's what I was trying to tell you before you forced me to play along. And you should have spoken up earlier. Gods, it knows what we know. It can act like us perfectly, and its disguise is indistinguishable. Okay, new plan. I know that this is going to sound crazy, but what if we wait and do like a DNA test or something? Maybe it can't copy us on a genetic level. That would be a good solution, right? It certainly worked in that movie. We don't have time for that. The damn thing would probably run off and escape before we could even organize something like that. Okay, maybe it wasn't my best idea, but I was just thinking that there has to be some way to identify it. I mean, this thing just killed two of our friends. What if it wants more of us? What if it won't stop until we're all dead? I'm not going to let that happen. I'll keep us safe. We don't know that. Any one of us could end up being a fake. If we can't tell which one of us is the doppelganger, then we're going to live the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. That's only if we can't figure things out tonight. And we will. We have to. It's not like we have another choice. I'm not going to tolerate one of us being a doppelganger and living life like it's normal. Knowing that one of you killed two of my friends, it would drive me mad. It would drive all of us insane, either with anger or paranoia. I know, I know. I just, I just wish it was easier. I can't figure any of the stuff out. Can you just shut up for once? Your cowering isn't helping at all. I can't help it. What am I supposed to do? I just saw two dead bodies and found out that one of us is a doppelganger. We can't all be tough like you, Kai. I wish I was. I really wish I could handle all this and stay calm, but I just can't. Then just shut up and keep your blubbering to yourself while the rest of us fix this. Will you two be quiet? Your screaming isn't going to help anyone. I'm not screaming. I'm just telling him how it is. And how does fighting him help? It keeps him from blathering on so we can focus on finding out which one of us is the doppelganger. I want to find out as much as you do. No, you don't. Neither of you do. Neither of you knew Victor like I did. So don't go off saying that you want this as much as enough. My voice boomed across the attic with such strength that the other three jumped in surprise. This charade has lost its luster, and I'm tired of seeing you two squabble with this pathetic monster. You all want the truth, correct? More than anything at this point. Yes, that's all I want. Bernard rapidly nodded his head. Then you will cease this incessant argument and let me piece everything together. That will give you peace of mind, a chance at revenge, and safety.
Stream
So no more
elements.
arguing, no
Said.
more threats,
Stay
no
moist, my
more
friends, hydrate.
escalations. Can you all agree to that much at least? Yeah, yes. Kai was hesitant, but after letting out a heavy sigh, he seemed to relax. Fine, just end this miserable night, will you? That's the plan. Now, let's begin. With the addition of Victor's skin, enough has been revealed for you to solve all the mysteries yourself. This is your last chance to think about it before Greya reveals the answer. My current hypothesis is that Victor was the first one killed, obviously, in the bedroom. Then, what's his name? The zombie dude went to go check on him, and then he got switched when he went in there. He knows that Victor had a rash on his skin from the lemon at some point, and that he was using the old costume, which Victor wouldn't ever reuse the costume, and that's when he got turned. Chapter 8, the denouement. We will start with the basics. How did our victim die? Which one? We've got two of them. We'll start with Victor since I think that his death will be easier to explain. Plus, it'll lead us in the right direction. First, take a look at Victor's skin. There are not isolated stab marks around the abdomen, neck, and chest. These stab wounds match up not only with the marks on the skeleton that we found in Victor's room, but also on the costume that we found. Naturally, we can make a pretty fair assumption that Victor was likely stabbed to death. Makes sense so far? We didn't even have to look that far to find out where the murder weapon was. There was a sharp, bloody knife right there on the bed, the perfect weapon to make these kinds of stab wounds. From this, we can deduce that Victor was wearing his initial costume when he was killed by our doppelganger, who was wielding a kitchen knife. And here I thought that the corpse we found in the laundry room was Vic. I can't believe I got them mixed up like that. How could I be so stupid? That was just because of the circumstances at the time. It was the first corpse that we found, so it was a natural assumption that belonged to Victor. But, wait, I'm confused. I understand how the doppelganger managed to kill Victor, but what about the second victim? We all arrived together, right? And the house was locked shut. We even found Victor's house key inside his costume, but that would mean it was locked from the inside. How would they have gotten that second victim? Well, obviously they probably were just waiting in ambush. They probably stole Vic's skin and were just waiting in his room for someone to come by. Mio pointed to Bernard and Kai. Both of you were alone for a while, right? Kai went off to look for Vic earlier, and then he went to Vic's room after we found the skeleton in the laundry room, Bernard. So the killer must have ambushed one of you two and killed you then. What? You can't pin the blame on me just because I went to check for Vic alone. Yeah, what he said. Can you prove it? What I said makes complete sense, doesn't it? I'm no good at thinking on my feet. Well, I'm sure that there's some way to explain it, right? Bernard looked sheepishly at me as if hoping I would explain all the problems away. Luckily for him, I could. Not a bad attempt, Mio, but off base entirely. How so? For starters, when Bernard left to go to Victor's room, we had already found the skeleton in the laundry room, remember? And recalled the details. It had a broken hyoid bone, but no stab wound to speak of whatsoever. We already concluded that because of the matching skin, outfit, and skeletal scratches, that the corpse in Victor's room belonged to Victor himself. Thus there would be no way for a doppelganger to have ambushed and killed a third victim. I guess that makes sense. Despite saying that, she turned to face Kai and pointed a finger at him. Then that just means that Kai was the one who got ambushed. It could work. If Kai was exploring alone, then the doppelganger could simply kill him and then put his body in the laundry room. Then, after stealing his skin, he would pretend to have found the first body. Yeah, it would definitely make sense if it happened that way. Are you serious? I didn't get killed. But it makes sense. How else would you explain the state of the locked house and the murders? I don't want it to be you, Kai. But so far it explains everything. It explains jack shit. First of all, if I were ambushed, I would have screamed or something. I would have put up a fight. I wouldn't go down like a punk. That's for sure. Back me up. If you know the truth, then you've got to know that I'm innocent. Your flailing around like a fish isn't helping your case. Are you serious? But Calm down. I already know that this line of reasoning is flawed. How? I just explained everything. Yeah, what Mio said made sense. I'll admit that it does make sense on the surface, but Mio is skipping a few steps in her line of reasoning. What did I miss? Mio, how did our second victim die? The skeleton we found in the laundry room. That's a fact that you failed to mention. Mio's eyes went wide and she smacked her forehead. Sorry, I just kind of forgot about that. Your forgetfulness almost got me into trouble. It's not my fault. This stuff is hard. Well, go on, give your answer. Right. Mio scratched her head for a few seconds and looked down at the ground. Hyoid bone, that's around the neck, right? I guess that maybe they were stabbed. I mean, the only murder weapon we found was the knife, right? The doppelganger ambushed Kai, stabbed him right in the neck, which kept him screaming. From screaming. They took Kai's skin, brought the knife back to Vic's room, and then pretended to find the body. Both Kai and Bernard Winston rubbed their own necks, probably trying to imagine how it would feel to suffer a death like that. I see. Interesting theory. One that, unfortunately, is easily disproven. Why do you have to sound so condescending when you shoot me down? No offense, I just want to show you why your line of reasoning is wrong. Kai, if you would be so kind as to raise your head so we could get a good look at your neck. Sure. Kai tilted his head up and showed off his exposed neck. Not eyes how there's no obvious knife wound. Shit. Yeah, I guess that would be there, right? Looking at Victor's skin, it doesn't seem like external wounds vanish when the skin is stolen. But, if you want something more conclusive than that, let me offer you this. I'm certain that the second victim was strangled. Strangled? Yes. Hyoid bone fractures are common in strangulation since you're applying significant force around the neck. In addition, take a look at Victor's skin, not ice the marks on the hands. The others leaned over to take a closer look at the red marks on the palm of the skin. After taking Victor's skin, our doppelganger used something to strangle the second victim. In doing so, the killer left irritation marks over the palms of Victor's hands. Okay, fine, that makes sense, but it doesn't change what I said. All that changes is that the killer used something to strangle Kai instead of a knife. What difference does that make? It makes all the difference, because while we were investigating, we didn't find any stray rope, wire, or cords near any of the crime scenes, right? Our killer would have only had minutes to dispose of the evidence. I think we would have not iced a trace of something. Mio went quiet and lowered her head. Then what? I'm just wrong. Yes, but don't look so down. You've given me the best avenue to explain what happened, for I know where the murder weapon is. You do? Well, don't stall. Tell us already. I will, if you would all be so kind as to follow me downstairs back to the living room. Mio seemed sullen, probably because she had her efforts shot down, but I wasn't going to let her foul mood ruin things. You can sulk downstairs, now let's go. I led them back down to the living room and had them stand across from me side by side. Now look around. Do you see anything that could be used as a weapon to strangle someone? Is it in this room? Yes, it's in this room. Bernard gave the room a quick scan but then shrugged his shoulders. Nothing really comes to mind. Well, it would have to be something that you could easily wrap around someone's neck and also hold with both your hands. I say all that, but I can't spot anything that fits the bill. What about you, Mio? Me? I can't really think of anything. Really, nothing at all. What about the wires that you brought over? Mio averted her gaze from me immediately, while the other two returned to look at her. You could easily use those to strangle someone. Mio, don't tell me that you... Shut up. I didn't strangle anyone. All I did with those wires was set them up by the television. That's all. But they would be the perfect weapon, right? I had to admit it was something somewhat amusing to see them jump on one another so easily with just a mere suggestion. But I needed to temper my fun before things got out of hand. They would be, but it's not them. But you just said. I asked Mio if the wires were a possible choice for a weapon. She knows that they are, that's why she got nervous. Because if you all came to that conclusion, you would be breathing down her neck, thinking she was the culprit. Yeah, but if you're saying it's not the wires, then what is it? I pointed up at the ceiling. Their gazes turned up and locked onto the loose decorations that were hanging down from it. It's true what they say, humans really don't look up. Oh, the ropes. I feel kind of stupid for not icing that before. You should. You were going to start accusing me just because I brought over wires. But you were accusing us only a few minutes ago. I at least had reasonable logic. Partially reasonable. Now, I believe the rope we're looking for is this one. I reached for one of the nooses hanging from the ceiling, though I was a bit too short to reach it. Luckily, I was able to use my sense to gently tug it down from the ceiling. So it's not just a prop. Nope, it's actually a rather handy investigation tool. It's good not to be reliant on it when basic logic will do. Now for the rope. Once it was in my hand, I began to undo the knots on it until it was just a single piece of rope. Here, see these frayed portions. These were likely handled by our killer when they strangled our second victim. Plus the size of the rope and marking left on the palm match. This is certainly our murder weapon. How were you able to tell which one of these ropes was the right one? Attention to detail. This one just looked a little out of place. The noose was a bit sloppy and the shape was slightly different from the others. You've really got good eyes if you can tell just by looking. As satisfying as it had been to spot the rope, it was even more satisfying to have my skill acknowledged, even if it was only by Bernard. Okay, so you found out that the murder weapon was this rope. How does that help us? Use that meatball you call a brain and think for a second. If our second victim was strangled with this rope, which we found in the living room, then why were they ambushed? Then were they ambushed? Well, they would have had to come back in here and put the rope back up as a noose on the ceiling, right? Right. And not only that, you would need significant time to take the rope, form it into a noose, and then maybe some kind of box or stepping stool to put it up. Now, can you tell me what opportunity or ambush or killer would have had to do all that? That I'll do the thinking for you. They wouldn't have had an opportunity. You were with us ever since we found the first body. Therefore, you couldn't have put the rope back up on the ceiling. I always had an eye on Mio, and we were already explained why Bernard couldn't be ambushed. Great. So I'm innocent then. Well, I mean, yeah. That's kind of what she was proving the whole time. This was all just Mio's idea in the first place. Fine, you made your point. Maybe there wasn't an ambush. But then, how do you explain how the house was locked and we found the key inside of Vic's clothes? How do you explain the death of the second victim? It's rather simple. We would deduce that our killer strangled the second victim with this rope. They would need ample time to reset it after. Since no such opportunity occurred after we entered the house, this means that our killer must have strangled our second victim before that time. You're saying that the doppelganger killed one of us before we even got here. That's precisely what I'm saying. It's the only logical explanation. Here's what I think happened. After stabbing Victor to death, our doppelganger stole his skin to clean up their appearance. The bloody sink and towel in the bathroom leads me to believe that they were wiping away any leftover blood on the skin of Victor's body. After, they got dressed in the Halloween outfit that Victor wore last year. Because if they were seen with that bloody messed up outfit, it might raise suspicion. After getting all dressed up, they simply had to wait for a second victim to arrive. One of you three, and one of you did. I imagined you might have been a bit confused by the doppelganger having put on Victor's previous costume, but it wasn't enough to look any deeper. The doppelganger, pretending to adjust one of the nooses hanging in the ceiling, took it off and then strangled our second victim. After our second victim died, they simply moved the body over to the laundry room, tossed the old outfit onto the dryer, and discarded Victor's skin in the attic. Once they had done that, they removed the second victim's costume, stole their skin, and perfected their disguise. A body that didn't have stab wounds, bloodstains, or a damaged costume. In the remaining time they had left, they removed the noose and quickly hung it back on the ceiling, then took Victor's house key. Once they left, they merely locked the door behind them, went back to their victim's car, and pretended to arrive sometime later to complete the illusion. When you put it all together, it's a rather simple trick, isn't it? It does make sense, but it was confusing since we weren't sure about when the second victim died. Hold on, there's still one problem you didn't explain. In your scenario, the doppelganger would have had the key on them when we went into the house. So how did it end up in Victor's room? They just needed an opportunity to put it inside Victor's bloody costume. Yes. Why are you looking so spooked, Bernard? We're almost at the finish line. Kai, if Priya is right, then that means there's only two people who could have put the key in Victor's costume. It would have had to have been someone who wasn't being watched, and who could have gone to Victor's room, right? Oh. Why does the suspicion always end up back on us? Well, you only have yourselves to blame. It's not my fault that I felt sick. And when I went off alone, I asked other people to come with me. Be that as it may, both of you would have had the opportunity to drop the key off, and thus, you two are the main suspects. This is bullshit. Come on, even after all this, I'm still somehow a suspect. Finally, some of the heat comes off of me. How are we going to figure out which one of these two is the fake? That's a good question. I was hoping that one of them tracked blood on their shoes, but it seems that they're clean on that end. Our killer has been careful to get rid of whatever evidence that could directly identify who they are. Well, wait, I have an idea. One of us was strangled by the rope, right? Maybe there would be some markings on our necks. That's a good point. Maybe they didn't account for that. I showed it off before, but I'll do it again if it proves I'm innocent. Kai raised his head to expose his neck, and sure enough, it seemed completely clear of any trauma or signs of physical injury. I'm fine doing it too if it clears my name. Bernard showed off his neck, and again, there were no signs of injury. But at least one of us should have had some kind of injury, right? Yeah, unless Kriya was wrong and the rope wasn't used. If you think I'm wrong, then by all means, explain what other weapon was used and when. Don't act all haughty because we found a flaw in your logic for once. My logic was not flawed. Not all strangulations lead to physical injuries on the outside. Well, that's convenient. But what about our nails? Maybe the victim of the strangulation got saliva or blood in their fingernails when they struggled. You're free to check, but you think that our doppelganger would not eye something like that. Even so, we might check. Maybe we'll get lucky. You do realize that two of you are wearing gloves, and that Kai has such long fingernails that would have likely not eyes damage or missing extensions for the costume, right? Despite my words, they each had showed off their hands. As I expected, none of them had any rope strands, blood, or such in their nails. Their gloves also didn't show any signs of damage. Damn it, what the hell are we left with then? Did we miss something? There has to be something that we can use to identify who got strangled. Maybe we should do another look around the bodies, just to be sure. No, there's no need for that. We have everything we need right in this room. The key in determining who was strangled is simple. We just need to figure out who showed up first. You made it sound so easy, but we don't have a clue as to who came first. Well, Kai was the first one to show up to the house. At least I saw him already there. Shut up. We already talked about how the killer could have just waited a couple of minutes before showing up. The order we arrived at the house didn't matter. But fine. Kriya, just tell us, what do we need to do to show to figure out who's the doppelganger? And there we were, at the finale, the final push for the truth. Time for the fireworks. Mio, you personally don't need to do anything except make sure that these two stay in line. We're not going to try anything. Yeah, all we want is the truth. I hope that you'll keep to your word. I won't tolerate any interrupting my deductions. Now there's one piece of evidence that you three have overlooked. Or rather, one detail on a piece of evidence we've already looked at. Do you remember all the small red bumps on the neck and face on the skin? I was too focused on all the stab wounds. I did see them, but I wasn't really sure how they related to Victor's death. Kai, you seem to be deep in thought. You recognized those bumps, didn't you? They weren't from an injury, or a bug bite, or anything of the sort. Those were hives from an allergic reaction. You told me earlier that Victor had a problem with lemons, which is why you didn't even have any drinks that included lemon flavoring or even lemon juice. At first, I thought that you just meant that he didn't like the taste of lemons, that it was just a personal preference thing. But after seeing those hives on the skin, I knew that he had an allergy. Yeah, that's no secret to any of us. We all knew that he was allergic to lemons. What's that got to do with anything? Mio, I believe one unique trait among doppelgangers is that when they steal the skin off a corpse, they inherit not just memories. but also physical traits unique to the identity they steal. That would mean that while disguised as Victor, the doppelganger also would have been allergic to lemons. That's correct. Our doppelganger didn't give the real Victor some kind of lemon drop before killing him. No, what really happened was that the first guest to arrive gave something lemon flavored to our doppelganger and triggered an allergic reaction. Something like a food or a drink. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't have any lemon flavored food. I knew that Victor was allergic. I wouldn't want to hurt him. Same here. Like hell I would go and give my best friend something that would make him suffer. And yet it happened. One of you had nefarious intentions. In fact, maybe you just wanted to play a little prank on your friend. A little trick-or-treat action to make up for all the times he's pranked you. But that's just too cruel. Don't despair. It's actually a good thing. It was ultimately an unforeseen complication for our doppelganger. There's no way they could have known that one of you would have pranked them like this, and additionally, didn't have the time to properly clean it up. While the other guests on their way, the doppelganger would have had to decide the most important things to deal with. I imagine the lemon-related item would not fall under this. You say that, but what if they did? What if the drinks got dumped into the sink, or the food was just tossed outside? Then we'll look for an empty bottle or spare crumbs, but we won't have to do that, because our doppelganger has left all the evidence we need right here. I walked over to the kitchen to where the unpacked drinks and snacks were left out. You all played your parts, didn't you? You brought over everything that was asked of you. Let's check all these items and see what might just have a hint of lemon in them. Go ahead. I'm confident I wouldn't bring anything that would hurt Victor. It's the same here. Look at all the boxes and jars. Not one of them has anything flavored with lemons. Interesting word choices there. I first checked the snacks, looking over each box, bag, and jar laid out. I occasionally glanced at Bernard as I looked over each package. Potato chips, popcorn, candy corn, chocolate bars, some special brand of Halloween sugar cookies. Victor specifically asked for them. They've got a gooey raspberry flavored center that's supposed to look like blood. Right. Well, I can't really imagine anyone making a lemon flavored potato chip, so according to these labels, you're in the clear. I'm still mad that you didn't share any with me earlier. So sorry. Despite the apology, he seemed relieved that I had gotten off his case. So, let's take a look at the drinks then. Kai looked anxious but stood firm in place as I looked over each of the drinks. I see colas, ginger ale, vodka, whiskey, root beer, orange juice. See, there's nothing that has lemon in it. Everything is, Kai, do you think it would be funny to replace the contents of one of these bottles with just a bit of lemonade? Funny? No, I don't think it would be funny. I think it would be hilarious. You wouldn't even need to put much in to trigger a reaction. You could even use something like a squirt of lemon juice. I told you already, I didn't do something like that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't hurt Victor like that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Calm down, you drama queen. I know you wouldn't. I was just talking like that to illustrate a point. In order to do something like that, you would need to open one of these bottles first. I mean, yeah, that's obvious. And in doing so, you would break the tamper-proof seal on these bottles. Tamper-proof seal. Yes, those tamper-proof seals that snap open when you twist the top off. Each of these bottles still has them on, so none of them have ever been opened. That makes sense. On the other hand, I walked back over to the snacks and picked up the 2 cookie jars that Bernard had left on the counter. Bernard stiffened up as he watched me put the cookie jars up on display. Bernard, care to explain why this jar over here has its seal open? I don't know what you're talking about. Both of them are still closed. I never even had a chance to snack on them. Right, so you say. But can you hear this? I pressed a finger on the top of each jar. One of them had a distinctive popping sound as the lid bounced up and down. Shit. Yeah, they always put that thing on jars, don't they? Like, if it pops up, it means it's been opened. Then that jar was opened earlier. Hold on. I didn't open it. It must have been opened by someone at the store. Honest mistake. I just didn't realize it when I was buying it. Just an honest mistake. Yes, that's all it is. And besides, look at the label on the jar. Those are just normal sugar cookies. Even if they got opened, all that would happen is that someone would have had a bite to eat of some regular sugar cookies. So there's nothing wrong with them. You have an odd obsession over the label on this jar rather than its contents, Bernard. Now that I'm looking at it closer, doesn't it seem a little out of place? Almost kind of rough? Like it was just peeled off one jar and put onto another. So that's just, I mean, there's no way that you could prove something like that. It's just a label, that's all it is. Is that a challenge? Well, let's put it to the test then. All this investigating has made me peckish. Anyone in the mood for a snack? Bernard was shaking like a feather in a hurricane, and sweat was rolling down his face as I unscrewed the top of the jar. You can't. You. You can't. Geez, Bernard, just calm down. It's just a cookie. No need to get so frantic. I reached down and pulled out 4 sugar cookies. Everyone, I implore you to take one and tell me how it tastes. Yeah, okay. I walked over to Bernard and placed one into his hand. This is what you get for not letting me have one earlier. All right then, on 3, we'll savor the sweet taste of victory. 1, 2, 3. As we all bit into the snacks, the sweet taste rolled through our mouths, but along with it came another sour and tart sensation. The gooey feeling wasn't raspberry, but lemon. Chapter 9, Taste of Victory. You win. You got me. Bernard had collapsed to his knees on the ground, head hung low. Took you long enough to give up. Tell us what happened. What is there to say? You got it pretty much spot on. I showed up to the house looking for helpless victims and saw an opportunity. All it took was a knock on the door. Victor opened it. He probably just thought I was a trick-or-treater and didn't think of me as a threat. I forced my way inside, and when it was clear that I was dangerous, he made a run for it. I grabbed a knife, chased him up to his room, and, well, I finished the job there. You sick fuck! Kai grabbed the doppelganger by the collar and lifted him up into the air. I ought to kill you for what you did, you. Before you do that, mind letting him finish his story. I need to ensure that I get the whole truth from his lips. What for? He confessed. Call it a formality. I need these details to do my job as a Reaper correctly. Oh, right. Kai, let him finish. Maybe then we'll get our revenge. Kai released his grip on the doppelganger, who weakly flopped back onto the ground. So, after you killed Victor, I assume you took his skin. Yes, and when I got the memories that he was hosting a party, I knew I had a chance to make things interesting. So I cleaned up the skin a little, found a new outfit to put on, and waited for someone to show up. That's when Bernard showed up, quite a bit early too. He was a little curious as to why I was wearing an old costume, but he didn't care enough to question it. I pretended to adjust some of the decorations on the ceiling and already knew I was going to strangle him to death. But before I could act, he offered me a cookie. I played along, eating it so that he wouldn't suspect anything. But I know by the taste that was something I was allergic to. A lemon-flavored sugar cookie. To think that's what would tip me off. Anyway, I figured it was a prank, a joke, just by the way that Bernard was smiling and giggling at me when I swallowed it. When he was done laughing, I waited for him to turn away, and then... The doppelganger made a motion of strangling someone in front of him. He didn't laugh ever again. He struggled for a few seconds before passing out. Then I just held on to him to make sure the job was done. It was perfect. There was no damage to the outfit. His skin didn't have any strangulation marks, and the gloves meant I didn't have to worry about anything under my nails. So I moved the body over to the laundry, discarded my prior outfit, and dumped Victor's skin up into the attic. Then I removed Bernard's costume, took his skin, and perfected my disguise. I figured I was low on time, so I tried to rush through decoration and put it back up, and just packed up all the snacks again. I grabbed Victor's house key, locked the door as I left, and then went back to Bernard's car until the time of the party. After that, all I had to do was put the house key back into the original costume after we found the first body. I knew that using this person's inherent skittishness would be an easy enough excuse. I thought I got away with it, but it seems that I was wrong. What a shame. I don't get it. Really? Seems pretty clear to me. No, I don't get why this monster even killed Victor and Bernard. It's probably just a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe it gets its kicks thinking it's better than us. I have to admit, I also thought that you would try a bit more to discard some of the evidence pointing to you. Were you simply incompetent? Is this your first time killing? You've got it all wrong. You've got the who and the how, but you still don't understand the why. The doppelganger slowly got up to its feet and locked eyes with me. Its stance, its demeanor, its attitude seemingly changed and looked more irritated than remorseful. Those deaths, they were just supposed to be lures, enticing bait, an irresistible, bittersweet smell. What the hell are you talking about? Speak plainly. Fine, I'll speak so that you simpletons will understand. I killed your two friends because their deaths would be interesting. And interesting deaths, interesting murders, always attract reapers. Isn't that right, Rhea? I'm surprised that you know that much. You would be surprised, wouldn't you? Reapers are such arrogant creatures. Makes you so damn predictable. So you just killed our friends because it would attract a reaper. Great job, because of that you've got your ass caught. Agreed. If anything, it seems like you're the arrogant creature here. The doppelganger let out a guttural laugh that didn't match Bernard's usual tone. Is that what you think? Then let me tell you the real truth. The murder's here. I didn't care if I got caught. I had to leave some breadcrumbs or cookie crumbs around to lure you in. Enough evidence to make it worth your while. To tempt you and reel you in nice and slow like. You might have claimed that all my mistakes were about leaving evidence behind or being in a rush. But no, that wasn't the problem. The problem was this. The doppelganger violently pulled on the edges of its face, disfiguring the skin slightly and showing us a glimpse of the monster underneath. This sniveling, rotten, pathetic chicken of a man. Of all the people I've impersonated, of all the skins I've stolen, this failure has to be one of the most repulsive things I've ever had the displeasure of wearing. Kai smashed his fist into the doppelganger's face, disfiguring the mask of skin and sending the doppelganger down to the ground. I'm not going to stand and let you shit talk about my friend like that. You don't even deserve to share the same face as him. The doppelganger was quick to get back on its feet, shrugging off the blow and correcting its face. That was unpleasant, but I wouldn't advise doing that again. I'm finally regaining my own attitude, and with it comes a very short temper. Regaining. There's a period where we are quite attuned to the skin we steal. Probably an evolutionary trait that allows us to rapidly blend into communities. Our usual personalities are lightly repressed while take on the guise of those we steal from, which meant that I was a sniveling coward for the better part of the night, completely ruining my plans. The doppelganger turned his gaze back to me. If I had literally any other body, any other personality, any other skin, I would have killed you without mercy while you were preoccupied with your damn investigation. All I would have to do was sneak back into the kitchen, grab a knife, and then finish you off while you investigated that second body. Instead, all I had were heart palpitations, nervous sweats, nausea, and a sickening terror that wouldn't leave my mind. So your goal was to lure me in and to kill me. That's quite the ambitious goal. I am nothing if not ambitious. Take a look at this beautiful crime scene. You just killed our friend so that you could get a chance at murdering a reaper. What kind of sense does that make? You can't. You can't kill them. Mio looked at me. I mean, you're servants of death. How could you even die? The doppelganger laughed again and gently patted Mio's shoulder. Feel free to believe what you want, but the truth of the matter is this. They are no more special than you or I. Sure, they've got a few tricks and special powers, but they'll die as easily as a pig in a butcher's shop. Except that instead of meat, you gain power. Their power, to be specific. You become a reaper yourself. The ability to sense the dead, the power of life and death, the immortality, it all would have been mine. Is that what you've heard? Don't play coy with me. I've seen it firsthand. I know the truth. You reapers are born from the same slaughter that kills you. I have to admit, it's poetic, in a way. And tonight was going to be my moment of rebirth, if not for this. The doppelganger looked over at Kai, whose balled fists were already ready to strike. Unfortunate circumstance. Why not try your luck now? It seems you've regained your faculties. The doppelganger huffed and waved a dismissive hand to me. The moment has passed. You're too on guard now. I will just make a fool of myself, and I'm in no mood to do that. No, go ahead and claim your prizes. I won't interrupt. I may have failed tonight, but there will always be another chance. I suppose so. At least you've accepted your defeat gracefully. It stuck its tongue out at me. Maybe not too gracefully. But rather than linger and let this thing taunt me any further, I walked to the laundry room to where Bernard's corpse was. Where are you going? To the corpses, of course. Now that the mystery is unraveled, I can collect their souls. It won't take but a moment. Wait, you're a reaper. You must be able to do something about the situation, right? You can bring Bernard and Victor back, can't you? Why would I do something as silly as that? Why? But because. Kai stammered as he tried to think of some nonsensical reason why I would even entertain bringing these departed souls back. Their murders were all for a plot to kill you. Doesn't that make you a little angry? Don't we deserve to see them back since they were used for such evil? There are many evil deaths in the world. If we were to return them all back, what do you think the world would come to? But I ignored him and took hold of Bernard's soul. I ignored him, passing on the information of how his death was resolved. I plucked it like a dying leaf off a branch and tucked it into my pocket. And now for Victor. Wait, please. Is there something that we can offer in return? Something that we can trade? Both Kai and Mio stood in front of me, blocking me from entering into Victor's room. Do you happen to have another worthy soul on hand? It would have to be someone murdered in a rather spectacular fashion. What? No, of course we don't. Then we have no deal. I phased through them into Victor's room and approached his corpse. You know, you two could try and kill one another quickly. It would be spectacular in a sense. Imagine it, two friends dying to give their dead friends another chance at life. Wait, what if we... I would not advise trying to kill me. For starters, I'm only one soul. You would have to pick and choose between Victor and Bernard. That seems heartless, doesn't it? More importantly, I'm certain that I could take the two of you in a fight. I've already killed twice tonight. Don't make me add two more. Though, your skins would be much better than what I have on now. Come on, tempt me. The cold words were enough to make the other two freeze on the spot, which I quietly appreciated, as it let me grab hold of Victor's soul without much of a fuss. It was hard to hide my smile. I was as giddy as could be. Two precious souls in one night. What a steal! I was ready to walk out and be on my merry way, but Kai and Leo attempted to stop me once again. You two know that this is fruitless, right? If you leave with their souls, then we'll tell the world about you, about the existence of reapers and what you do. I simply raised an eyebrow at them. You would blackmail a reaper. Do you think that's a wise idea? Yeah, we would do it. We would go to the whole world and talk about what happened tonight. Really? Let me think about that. I paused and paced around in place while I let my thoughts slip out of my mouth. You two will go to some news outlet and explain how a double murder occurred in your friend's home. Blame it on a doppelganger who likely could escape or alter their appearance. Then tell them that a reaper in the form of a beautiful young woman came by and busted the case wide open. A woman that you can't trace, can't identify, and can't prove was with you on the night of the murder. Doppelganger, you seem like a decent voice of reason. Does that sound like a good idea to you? Well, I wouldn't do it, if that's what you're asking. I agree. Sounds like it would only get you into more trouble. And, let's be honest here, the world is full of myths, monsters, and legends. Even if you told the truth in its entirety, what difference would it make to me if a few more people knew what I was? What we did? You should be honored to have such first-hand knowledge yourself. Besides, do you really think anyone would believe you? If more people know, then more people might try and kill you and your kind. I grinned. I would invite them to try. I phased through them again and started walking to the exit. Now it's been a pleasure. Truly, I'll remember this night very fondly for a long, long time, no doubt. This is why I love Halloween so much. So many twisted memories to hold on to. Wait, please. I groaned and reluctantly turned back to face Leo again. If you're going to say something, or beg or threaten me, at least make it entertaining. If all you care about is souls, can you at least get rid of that thing? She pointed at the doppelganger. If two good people have to die tonight, at least make it right by reaping the soul of the guilty. Well, that just doesn't seem fair. I'm not dead. I don't think I should have my soul reaped just yet. Fuck off. So that's just the right thing to do. You know what? You're right, Kai. It would be the right thing to do. Then you'll... But I'm not an arbiter of justice. I'm not a judge, jury, or executioner. I am simply the psychopath. If you want revenge, if you want justice, if you want a happy ending, then you'll just have to take matters into your own hands. And when you do, I'll be there to give you all the praise your souls could want, all while transporting the guilty or the innocent to their proper place. But not a moment sooner. But enough. I really do appreciate you playing your part in the show, but I must move on, as should you. You've still got a long life ahead of you. Well, theoretically. You seem young. Maybe not smart, but young. Make the most of what time you have left. After all, I imagine you'll have to deal with a lot of trouble soon. Good night, and happy Halloween. I took a step outside and melted away into the darkness, like rain into the ocean, gone without a trace, and buried my valuable collections to their rightful place. 10. Reaping rewards. Pitiable. They're just so pitiable. I almost felt bad for those two humans, losing two friends in a single night. Sure, they tried to get me reaped and probably hate my guts, but I could understand their anger and frustration. I shared it. This night didn't go to plan for me either, and now I was stuck with this pathetic, cowardly visage until a new opportunity presented itself. These two had been bawling their eyes out for the better part of 5 minutes. Sure, I could have killed them, taken one of their appearances, and moved on. But the damn soft heart that this body has just wouldn't let me do it. Not now, anyway. Are you two done crying yet? We've got work to do. Well, what the hell do you want? To just leave us alone? If you're going to kill us, just do it already. That would be such a waste. No, I've got something better in mind. I crouched down to their level and wrapped my arms around their shoulders. Why don't we just go back to the way things used to be? At least for a little while. To go back? What the hell are you talking about? We can't just pretend that you're Bernard. We know the truth. You're just a monster. I would rather be friends with a rabid man than pretend that you're Bernard. That hurts my complex and intricate heart. I know that you both are having a rough time right now. I get it, but let's think about our options here. I'd rather not have to go hunting for a new disguise. Not for a while, anyway. And I bet that you two don't want to deal with the burden of some nasty investigations and being blamed for some bad deaths. Put those two noggins together. You know that I'm right. We don't have to be friends. We need to be friends, if only to survive for a little while longer. And then what? What happens when you abandon us and we're stuck with all these problems? What do you think's going to happen? We'll be screwed, and this thing's probably going to try and murder a Reaper again. Don't be so glum. That's certainly my long-term goal. But contrary to what you believe, I'm a nice guy. I can play the part I need. All I need is for you to do the same. After that, who knows? Maybe there'll be something in it for you. That was it. Those gloomy faces were finally understanding the truth. They were in a dismal and shitty situation, and I was their one and only savior. I might actually not have to kill them if they managed to do a good enough job and just listen to me. And if not, I was sure that in their heads, they knew that they were only one bad night away from being replaced. Replaced.